All right. What's up, everybody? How you doing out there? Welcome back to the show. This is last week's fights. My name is Thinker St. James, and tonight we are going over each and every fight from UFC 328, Chimaev versus Strickland, giving our thoughts and predictions on the upcoming UFC Fight Night, Allen versus Costa. To do all of that with me, as always, the man, myth, and legend, the Ohio player, the president of the Josh Van Fan Club. The dream has been realized, Mr. Chase Parton. How are you, brother?
I am doing great. Just to double check, you can hear me correctly, right? I was having
I
just a little bit of some issues just for a second.
Yeah, I heard a little slap back there, but you're good right now. I can hear you.
Okay, just making sure. But yes, absolutely. I am doing amazing. It is Monday night. We had Saturday of fights, and we got a lot to talk about. Let me just say it that way. So I'm very excited. Thinker, roll us in.
Absolutely. Yes, indeed. We do have a lot to talk about. There was a ton to go over with the UFC card. Of course, we've got predictions coming up for next week. We also have the MVP card. We will not be doing predictions for that, but should at least mention it. I don't know how much we've talked about it on the show in the past, but Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano are going to be having their big fight this weekend as well. Watched some cards this last week. Go over those just very, very briefly. Anything that you wanted to get into, Chase, before we started getting into the UFC?
No, I'm really excited to get into the UFC. I think we could probably, if we thought really hard and look down at some older fight cards, we could talk about one. But it was just another great week of one. I think you guys are missing out by not tuning in the morning fight cards on Friday. So if you missed out, you missed out. So I'm ready to talk about UFC. That's really what it comes down to here.
Absolutely. Make sure that you are tuning into Chase Parton's Friday morning one streams. They are great. The fights are generally very great on there. The only ones that I wanted to talk about this week were two. I just wanted to briefly mention. We watched BFL. That's a Battlefield Fight League that's out of Canada. Very enjoyable card. I quite enjoyed that one. What's up?
Combat U. No, sorry, we got to
That's
talk
that's
about that.
was the next one that I was going to be talking about. Absolutely, yes. So BFL was very fun. Shout out to them. That was quite an enjoyable card. I liked it a lot. Michael Chiesa was on the call for that. But yes, Combat U is definitely the one that I had to mention the most. This is a very awesome and unique concept that I don't know. There might be other versions of this in other places, perhaps, but this is the first I have ever heard about something like this, and I love it. So what Combat U is, it's a collaboration between Uriah Faber and Team Alpha Male, I guess, and his A1 Combat League out there in California, and Sacramento State, the University of California, Sacramento, collaboratively creating a program for collegiate aged students to get themselves immersed in combat sports, almost like a college, like an NCAA sort of thing for combat sports to an extent. I mean, it's not as structured as that just yet, I would say, but like it is a full on fight league. They had actual fights there, of course, all amateur, but it's getting young people involved in the sport, able to participate, and then also showing that there are viable paths to careers within the sport outside of just fighting. So, they had broadcasters, young broadcasters doing their thing. I guess they have internships that they have available and scholarships and all those types of things. Really a great program and one that I certainly want to support. So I had a great time watching Combat U. It was Battle at the Hive 4 was the event that we watched. I guess the Hive being, I think they're the Hornets,
The
perhaps.
Hornets,
Yeah,
yes.
it's Sacramento. So yes, just really huge shout out to that promotion and all of the young fighters who are doing it, and of course shout out to Uriah Faber for endeavoring to do that for the young people, because it's really a great legitimization of a sport that to a lot of people is still very savage and very brutal and all of those things. I mean, this actually brings it into a more legitimate space.
Yeah, I actually really, and I know everybody where we're at, we really like the professional style of what we see, but I did not dislike the amateur fight league. I really enjoyed seeing, really raw talent. Obviously we saw some dude who clearly was not on his first amateur bout, but there was raw talent, and then it was just a good time. I think it was just really, really fun. It even, like, when I saw it, I was like, wow, like, amateur doesn't look like, again, you talk about the savage brutality of what people would think this sport would be like. Amateur really, it looked a little playful, and I'm not saying it is, but like it looked not as deadly as what we know mixed martial arts to be. So when you see it, you're like, oh, that is something attainable. I could do something like that. And obviously, that's just the first step to going, doing more.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it reminded me a lot of the amateur fights that I was seeing when I commentated for Real Cage Fighting, which is exactly what it should be, as you just described. I mean, not every one of these athletes are going to continue on in combat sports. Maybe they want to stay within the world, but not actively fight. There's a lot of different opportunities and a lot of different ways to experience the sport, and to be a part of it in multiple different avenues. So I think it's great. I really think that it's a fantastic thing. I actually reached out to Uriah Faber to see if I can get a shirt. So we're going to see if we get a message back from Uriah Faber. And if so, you'll be seeing me rock the Combat U tee at some point.
Yeah, no, that would be awesome. I really respect everything about that program. I mean, they give, hey, all the students, they get one free ticket, so they get their admission to be able to go see the spectacle that is martial arts, of course. And I think it's just an awesome thing that they're able to do that out in Sacramento.
Absolutely. And also, I remember this, we've been doing the show for a while, you and I, Chase. I remember when you and I were talking about Corey McKenna's last fight in the UFC. And, I always liked Corey McKenna. I thought she was a fine fighter, not necessarily elite, but certainly, a great athlete and participant. She was doing the live commentary for that event. And I was like, oh, what a nice thing to see Corey McKenna back again.
Yeah, I remember specifically hating on you for be like, dude, not every attractive redheaded woman is like, bro, she's from Wales. What would she be doing in Sacramento? Like, are we serious? And then they put the thing up, Corey McKenna, and I'm like, golly damn, like, look at
She,
that. So
she
what is she doing out
she
there?
lost her accent a little bit. She even was commenting on that herself at one point, saying that her accent has softened. Like, I guess maybe she just lives in the States now. I don't know.
Well, I just think it's such an interesting thing because you have such a high level, again, the highest level of mixed martial arts. She was there. And then now you see her with a desk cam and she's just got her laptop up and she really is just about mixed martial arts. She wants to be involved in the community while she can't participate in the actual combat, sport itself anymore. She is still involved in the sport, and I really respect, Uriah Faber too. Listen, as much as I can maybe clown him, for the things that he's cringe. Like, let me just put it that way.
Faber
Um,
is
yeah, for sure. Yeah,
really
yeah. But either way,
okay.
he he's doing great things, and I think I can respect him for a lot of different things, including this. Let me say it that way.
True. Well, I guess maybe I'll have to find out what specific instances you're talking about here. But I'm just glad this is not Henry Cejudo's promotion.
Yeah, true. I mean, listen, he's not too far off. I don't know why. Is this Chad? Am I out of place for saying that Faber's cringe? Like, I don't know. Like, I thought that was like a known thing. The dude with the butt chin, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Okay, I
yeah,
don't know.
for sure.
I'll have to find out what that's in reference to. But either way, no, I think Corey McKenna is a great example of exactly what we were just talking about, though. Somebody who is not actively competing at the high level anymore, but is still involved in the sport, and it shows that you don't have to be in the UFC to be in this world.
And it was such and it was definitely an amateur promotion because there was so many things that they attempted, but they just didn't have the time and the resources to do it. So they wanted like a screen grab, right? They just wanted a froze picture to just have before their commercial breaks and in the time, but they didn't have a still picture. They just had the video, so they had to start it and pause it really quick, and then they would have it real quick, and then they'd unpause it when they're ready to
Yeah,
roll it. So
there were a couple of production related things that could be elevated slightly for sure. They had a replay system. I don't think that they used the replay necessarily 100% effectively. I watch a lot. I do a lot of watch alongs for a lot of regional shows at this point. So it's like I have like my checklist of things. They certainly were doing more than some that I have seen. And of course, being the nature of it, I don't want to be too critical of that. So maybe over time it'll get even better.
yeah, 100%. But no, I love Combat U. Shout out them. Everything they're doing is great.
Absolutely. Yes. Big shout out to Combat U, and I hope to watch another one of their events soon. So, that all being said, then that's all I had. You want to get into this UFC card?
I do want to get into the UFC card, but what I want to do first is give a big shout out to the chat. I know
I
I
love
talked
it.
to you guys, but we're gonna give you a shout. Sam, Jeremy, and that's it. It looks like okay. Sam and Jeremy, shout out. Appreciate you guys.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you very much for being here on a Monday night with your boys. So yes, this is UFC 328, Chimaev versus Strickland. This took place at the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey. Before we get into the fights, though, we got to talk about a little bit of the pre-fight stuff. This was a card that had a lot of early, before the actual fireworks. There were some rumblings and things going on that I think need to be addressed because they inform some things going forward. So first and foremost, we got to talk about the Hamzat weight make / weight miss situation. If you're not aware, which I'm sure everybody by now is, but just to recap, Sean Strickland weighs in. He's on the scale, 5 seconds, to let the needle drop and get itself to settled. He's standing there looking good. He makes weight. Khamzat Chimaev gets on the scale. Needles going all over this place. Bang, 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 da da da. And 2 seconds in, if that, the commission just says, "Oh, 185. He made weight. Get him off the scale. Get him out of there." He also looked very emaciated on the scale. So, what is your thoughts here, Chase? What happened with this?
Well, for context as well, you're talking about how Strickland got on the scale and then they waited and then they're like, Hamza jumped right on and they did the thing. Sure. When Ochoa jumped on the scale, they were like, "Oh, stop, 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 get back off the scale. Let us make sure it's at zero real quick." And then now, okay, now you're okay. He was like, "All right, my bad, my bad." And then he gets on and then they do the whole thing. So that's just another thing that they did not do for Hamzat here as well. So yes, he jumped on the scale and it's moving around and then all right, he's good. And what I personally believe, because Hamzat has fucked up main events already, and this is not anything that we should have been surprised about. This is by far one of the easier things that you could call out, I would say. And nobody really did, I don't think. This was not a narrative that anybody was really going with, like, "Oh, he's gonna miss weight," but he didn't in technicality. But my thing, after the fight, and we'll talk about the fight, of course, but after the fight, he announced that he's moving up to 205. This was his last fight. And I think that Dana or whoever is, Hunter, whoever's in charge now, I think they knew that going in. And they were like, "Listen, we're going to make sure that this main event goes through, but you're not going back to 85 because you're going to screw it up. You couldn't do 70. You screwed up a main event. And then now you come up to 85 and now you're the champ and then you're not going to make weight. So we're going to fudge the numbers. We're going to make the commission not, pay attention to it and swipe it away as soon as they can. But you're not going to compete here again, win or lose. You're going to vacate. You're going to go yada, yada, yada." That's just what I would say.
It also, I believe, I think they even said it on the commentary on the broadcast, but it's been confirmed now, and I think a couple of different places, that Hamzat was bulking to potentially fight Yuri Prohashka for the higher weight, and then of course that whole situation changed, with the middleweight or light heavyweight, excuse me.
Yes.
So that I think was part of it. That he was trying to go up, he had to cut way back down. And then, really whatever the behind the scenes stuff with Hamzat specifically is almost irrelevant to me. It's to me, the fact that the commission, just let this happen kind of speaks towards what we've sort of been insinuating here, that the organization and the commission may be a little bit too chummy at times, a little bit too close. The whole idea of having a commission to oversee this sport is that they are independent and are not swayed by the whims of the organization. That was why when USADA broke off their relationship with the UFC and the UFC took over their own doping program, I was concerned. Now the UFC is handling their own doping program. They have to be the ones to regulate that. Who is watching the watchmen is always the the issue here. And that's, I think, what we're basically seeing with this thing with the commission. If the UFC has the ability to, kind of put the elbow in the side of the commission guy and say, "Hey, we need this main event to go on," and it does, that to me is a major problem.
Yeah, it is. I absolutely agree. This commission in what did we say, New Jersey? Is that what we said?
This one is New Jersey, yeah.
Yeah, this commission here is all types of screwed up. So I'm not surprised that this was one of the few things that we noticed was crazy about them. So yeah, they definitely fudged the numbers. Who knows what the mob was doing on this one, but they made sure the fight was going through because they got big money down, and then knowing that there was big money down, you obviously seen lines shift as well. So do you want to go ahead and talk about Buckley and Brady?
Certainly do. Yes. What a lovely transition to the irregular line movement that we saw just hours before the card started, and specifically on the Sean Brady and Joaquin Buckley fight. This is one of the more perplexing ones to me, however, because generally when the line moves, there's only a couple of reasons why that would happen, right? Either a fighter is actively throwing the fight. That's like the nuclear option. You hopefully that's not the case, but we know how things have been.
Yeah, we
Uh,
reached out. He said, "I'm throwing the fight," so we put
well,
a bunch of money down on him. Yeah, that's
yeah, right, exactly. That generally would not be not be broadcast, perhaps, but Bulgarian. I
yeah,
mean, we saw how that all works out, right?
I hear you. Trust me.
So,
I know. That's why it's a joke, but I mean,
of course,
irony.
yeah, I mean, it's sad. It's ridiculous that it has to be like a half joke because of where the truth lies. But so that's number one, what it could have been. Number two, and what is more likely in a situation like this, is that information was getting leaked. Generally, that would be someone in the team knowing that there's an injury or a compromise of some sort, an illness, some tweak in the ankle, whatever, a previous injury that's nagging, something like that might be lingering in the air. That information gets out, that sways the line. And then the third and the more organic one that you hope it might be, and maybe that is this, but it seems kind of crazy to think, is that naturally the line just moved. Like a lot of people maybe all got together and said, we think that this is how this is going to go. Other people start a snowball effect of that, and maybe that's how it ended up moving. In this case, it's very interesting because if there was information that was leaked, it wasn't proper information. The line moved dramatically in Buckley's favor. And Brady was originally the favorite. He turned into a massive underdog. Buckley becomes the favorite. And then, I mean, not spoiler alert if you didn't see the card. We'll, of course, talk about the entire fight itself when we get to it. But Brady ends up dominating in this fight. So, what gives? This is just an odd version of this because usually when these lines move like this, it goes how you think it's going to go. And this did not.
Yeah, we will definitely talk about that fight specifically, but all the antics before this card are definitely. I mean, and if you really want to dive deeper into another thing that's kind of interesting about this card is the co-main event was scheduled last month, and then a phantom injury happened, and then here we are. And I'm not the one to say, Josh Van, when he was doing the promos, they were like, "Yeah, my coaches saw something, and I wanted to go through with it, but they said it's probably not." And I'm thinking like, if you were like physically showing some signs or whatever, you might be fucked up, bro. Like, I don't know if a 1 month is like ample time to heal and to train, to get back in shape. Like, so I'm still just not sold here. Like, I don't know, bro. But
Oh, no,
businessman Van, listen, I'm just
yeah,
saying.
for real. But I mean, you're right. It's an interesting one with that too, because not only did it get moved, and whatever the coaches might have saw was behind the scenes to us, but what we did see was a card where Josh Van was cornering another fighter, and he looked fine. If you recall, on one of
I
those, I think it was an Apex card. He
it
was
it
there.
was Dakota Hope. Yes, he was cornering his teammate, but I don't take too much into that one because what if it was his arm or his finger? Like I
You're
mean,
right. That's a good point. Yeah,
so I
yeah,
don't know.
fair enough. I thought they said it was a hamstring, but
Eh,
either way,
There was speculation, but again, we saw him not limping around, no
right.
crutches. I mean, again, hamstring, maybe it was just sore, maybe, whatever the case may be, we only saw him walk from the entrance to the cage and to the cage back. So a lot of different things there. I'm not going to say that right there is the reason to say that he wasn't injured. He might have been injured or he might have been sore, but I think with the level, I think they really underestimated the star power of these two. I really think that's what it was. I think when the fight week came and they saw Yuri and Olberg, and then they realized like, oh shit, the co-main event, like these guys are fucking stars. Like these guys, they're gonna make big numbers here, and we know we got a banger fight on our hands. Of course, we'll talk about it, but moving it to this one and having Sean and Hamzat, I think made for this card to be amplified rather than just having the co-main event be the best fight that nobody sees because it's not the main event. Like so.
Could be. I mean, either way, it certainly did help this card, which I thought was somewhat lacking in other areas leading into the co-main and the main. So that being said, before we get into the actual fights proper, what did you think of this card on paper going into it?
On paper, I thought it was gonna be okay. I mean, a lot of people we're in a weird era where everybody wants to complain that the cards are not good, but then they'll also be like, "Oh yeah, this is an 8 or a 9 Apex. This is an 8 pay-per-view." And it's like, I mean, this isn't the craziest thing. If you are a diehard fan of people like Sean Strickland and Hamzat, I mean, kudos, this might have been your card, but I was here for the co-main event and the rest of the card, I mean, I didn't expect too many fireworks. Let me just say it that way, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like I was critical of it in the moment, and we'll go over the reasons why. But I think that like because I was on the 10-7's pre-show that they do past Saturday, and shout out to the 10-7 MMA for having me. But on there, Bam Bam was saying that, oh, this is really just the main event, and the rest is kind of just whatever. And I was like, I didn't know if I necessarily would have gone that far. There were a couple of fights that maybe stood out as like could be potentially good, and I think we got some good overall fight. Like there were some decent scraps. There were a couple that were less than good, but really what stood out to me after watching it, and we'll talk about it in the individual instances of it, the theme of this card was low fight IQ. That was definitely apparent here, and we'll go into all of the reasons why. So
I, low
yeah.
fight IQ, and listen, and we'll talk about it in this first fight specifically. But there was a lot of heart shown in these fights. There was at least specifically 3 to 4 instances where I thought people they put every ounce of willpower into these fights. So let me just point that out as well.
All right. Well, there you go. Nice baiting of the hook for all of these fights we're going to talk about right now. So let's start it off here with Clayton Carpenter versus Jose Ochoa. This is one of those fights where Chase, you in previous episodes have talked about like what makes a good flyweight, or like the mold of a flyweight, right? Like, the elements that you have to have in order to be competitive in the flyweight division. I think that Jose Ochoa embodied all of those elements really well. I mean, granted, Carpenter was not keeping up, so that makes it a lot easier to shine in this instance. But Ochoa in this fight, I thought was just on fire from like the beginning of this thing, and because Carpenter was just a step behind, he shone. I mean, like he was shining like throughout the entirety of this thing, just styling out there.
What I think is interesting about this one, yes, Ochoa, amazing performance. I think it was absolutely great. I had said before, and Clayton Carpenter, Francis Marshall, I hate to lump you guys together, but the thing about you guys, too clean. We're going to have to see you get real. We're going to have to see it get real gritty in there. And unfortunately, you saw the the worst end of the grittiness. You got to see Clayton Carpenter have to show that he really wanted to be a fighter at this point. A lot of people would give up. They after round 2, round 3, just TKO me, brother. I'll just fall over. But he was not willing to let that happen. And I think Ochoa, I think he was sort of in a way letting him in this fight a little longer than he should have. It should not have gone to the bell, I don't think. Clayton Carpenter's tough, but Ochoa really could have finished this fight, I think. I mean, he was beat bad. I mean, his face was busted up, his nose was broken, couldn't breathe. I mean, Ochoa's got the grappling too. I mean, he should have been able to make something happen. Once you've popped him up for 180 total strikes, I mean, try to go for a submission or something. I don't know. That's just me. I mean, listen, unanimous decision, great, but Ochoa was one of these finisher flyweights kind of guy. I was really expecting a little more here, and not to say that it wasn't a great performance. It just the good to great level. A great guy would have noticed that, like, this dude is not on my level. I've popped him up for 3 rounds now. It's time to get him out of here. And even I probably still would have talked shit if it took him 3 rounds to finish him. But like the point is always look for a little better here. I think you still could have made improvements. Looking forward right here. But Clayton Carpenter showed a lot of heart. That's the one thing that I think stuck out here is Ochoa showed he's a star power when it comes to offensive weaponry. But like Clayton Carpenter showed that he can take a pretty good beating. I think Ochoa obviously is just not on his, he's on a different level than Clayton Carpenter. Let me say it that way.
Yeah, for sure. That was one of my major notes. The only thing missing for Ochoa was the finish. Other than that, this was a masterful display. It's one of those things. It's like, is Carpenter just that, tough? I mean, is the chin that good? Because he was taking a lot of shots. I don't know. I mean, like, I kind of do tend to agree with you that like there probably could have been a finish if he had played the cards a little bit more correctly. But yeah,
Well, it was the pace that he had. He had a pace that was going to win, but you got to have that switch to the second level. When you realize you got him on the ropes, there's no pop him up 3 times, get back and reset for him to wipe his face and spit.
right.
Like, go finish him. If he starts doing shit with his nose because he can't fucking breathe, and he's got a cut on his eye, and he starts wiping shit, and you got him on the feints, and you've already again you 153 significant strikes, and you've mixed it up really well. There was a point where they showed the stats, and he had like 60 head strikes, 30 leg body. He was really doing great work. But like at a certain point, just get it over with, bro. We want to. we don't want to see you beat this dude up for this long. You know, we feel bad for him. Let me say it that, you know.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, he did get the drop in the first. I mean, like, so obviously the power was definitely there to make it happen. Carpenter he was just a step behind for the entirety of this thing because it was the speed, pressure, and movement of Ochoa that was overwhelming for this entire fight. Like Carpenter's not even a slow guy himself, and it just was too much. I mean, Ochoa was on it in such a great way. And then the other part to me was that like Carpenter never made Ochoa pay for the pressure that he was putting on him, and that I think really shown from the beginning as well. That like Ochoa was in his face for all of this, and Carpenter is just trying to like figure out ways to navigate it. He almost seemed like he was a little too in his own head because of how much was coming at him, and that's like you can't. Sometimes you don't have time to think like that. You got to just be in the moment enough to react to what's in front of you if it's that big of an onslaught.
I think was what was unfortunate is that Ochoa, he learned a lot about the loss with Lonnie Kavanaugh because I was expecting the live bet after round one for Ochoa to be a very good play because he should get wrestled in round one, held down, and then round two come out with a ball of fury. But I was pleasantly surprised that Ochoa again with the drop in round one and was leading convincingly, but Clayton just never was able to get his wrestling in play. So Ochoa was able to do a decent development with his sprawling and not getting taken down to his back. So I applaud to him on that. If he can keep it on the feet, I mean, obviously he's going to light some people up easily.
Yeah, and I mean Carpenter did get the takedown in the third round, but he couldn't capitalize on it at all. I mean Ochoa got right back up, right back to business. So yeah, really good development for Ochoa. It's kind of what I was saying in the predictions episode, where I was like, the Peru has been slightly underwhelming in the UFC. I think the Peruvian prospects, and Ochoa is defying that, which is a great thing to see. I mean, we need more Peruvian fighters that actually like show that there's a solid up and coming talent base from that country. And I think Ochoa is leading the way now, which is really great to see.
No, absolutely. Shout out Ochoa and Peru. Appreciate him.
Yeah.
I will make sure that I catch the next celebration where you guys go beat up on your neighbors down in Peru. Appreciate it.
Heck yeah. And speaking of celebrations, I did have in the notes it was an interesting choice for Ochoa in his post fight interview to propose to his girlfriend with her not being at the show. She was in Brazil apparently at the time when he proposed via the television broadcast.
You guys, I know a lot of people have something to say about this, but like, let's come on. It was a little romantic. Like, he tried. I mean, obviously, if you think about it, it's like, yeah, well, was she gonna come down from the 17th fucking row? Like, no, she was at home. He did his thing. It was a little stupid, yeah, but like, he's a UFC fighter. He did it. He did what he. If it was the Apex, maybe he could have got away with it. But he's a pay per view guy. She's not gonna sit in fucking New Jersey. Like she's obviously at home taking care of the kids or something. I think they said he just had a baby. I don't know.
All right.
So
Well, whatever the case may be, I guess we're going to have to find out on X if she said yes. Hopefully she did.
I think she did, guys. He let us know. Don't worry.
Okay. All right. Well, then
She
congratulations
texted.
to.
She texted it to him. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Send a carrier pigeon with your answer. But either way, then congratulations to the happy couple, perhaps.
Hell yeah.
Well, actually, the last thing I did want to ask, just real quick though, is does this change your opinion of Clayton Carpenter at this point? I was on, as I said, on the 10-7 show, and Bam Bam had picked Clayton Carpenter, said he was the more well-rounded of the two of them. I mean, we know that Clayton Carpenter has a little bit of wrestling, but I'd be a little concerned if I was Clayton Carpenter at this point.
I personally, I want to give Clayton Carpenter I want to give him the benefit of the doubt. I want to say because the way that he stuck in here, as nothing was going right for him, he was willing to take his loss like a man. It takes a true fighter to be able to do this. We've seen a lot of people just fall over and they're just ready to get finished. I'm gonna say, and Clayton, please don't make me look bad. I hope if there's anything you do tomorrow or anything this week, you watch this clip right here. I'm gonna say that you learned from this loss because I had been waiting for you to show that you are ready to get gritty, dirty, make a fight mean. And you were on the opposite end of this, but I'm hoping you understand what you don't want to happen again and what he was able to do to you and you just got to take that into your next fight. They're going to give you somebody who's on a lower level than this. Do what he did to you. do it even worse to this next guy. Make sure that you are not on the opposite end of this again, because 30-27s across the board, and arguably maybe one or two 10-8s. I don't know. I don't really remember Clayton having many moments here, not going to lie. So
It's true.
learn from this experience, and I'm going to believe in you. I'm going to put some stock into Clayton Carpenter. He's gonna make a turnaround.
All right. I do like it. I hope that that's the case because he's probably going to be fighting a dude coming fresh off the Contender Series who is going to be prime for exactly what you just outlined. So go and make that happen, you know?
Yep, I'm very excited for him. Appreciate him though.
All right.
He showed heart.
Fair enough. Yes. No, I agree with that. I definitely do. All right. Good deal. Then before we get on to the next fight, shout out to Oyagi in the chat. And of course, Johnny the God. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Thank you for being here. Next up on the list was Bisanger Susurkayev versus Jordan Santos. I mean, dude, you know, I think we kind of called this one pretty exactly correctly on the predictions. This was not the day for the Bisanger Susurkayev fraud check, but this hype train, I do believe, is going to be derailed. And performances like this are exactly what make that more and more a reality in my mind, fight over fight. Like, you know, if he's able to do the things that he did late in this fight, he basically chooses not to. He's emoting throughout the first half of this fight. He's getting touched at a couple of times from Santos. And then all of a sudden he just finds the finish. And it's just like, dude, that's not always going to work for you, man. Like I don't know. I'm not a fan of this Bisanger Susurkayev guy.
I agree with you that it was not his night, to look amazing. But I had actually even said that Jordan Santos is a little funky on the feet. He's a little hard. He does a lot of different things that make him a little hard to crack. But as you kind of mentioned it, Sursakayev basically doesn't decide to do what could finish the fight up until he wants to, and I think there is something a little special to that, like when you talk about we've talked about Quill and Salkeld in the past, and this is plenty of times that we've talked about this now. He's had moments where the fight did not go his way, but he stays committed to his game plan. He's locked into what he's going to do to win the fights. Sursakayev, you're right. I mean, he just kind of plays around in there, and then he finds his finish. It's not like he's locked in and he's still, he's never getting derailed. He's always like one track mind. It's like, no, he's just in there to have fun. And I think at the end of the day, I'm coming around to him, and I'm not gonna say that he's the best fighter, but I listen, if there is something special about somebody who can just do it whenever they decide to. I always think of Shaquille O'Neal on his birthday. Got like 64 points. It's like he just decided he just wanted to do that for his birthday. He could do that any day if he really wanted to. But like Sursakayev, yeah, he had a not great performance on the feet, in my opinion. I mean, he was winning, he was getting tagged up, but I did not think he was going to get the submission. I'm like, all right, we got a Brazilian here. There's no big deal, no threat. Once he gets to the ground, he knows not to get submitted, kind of deal. But when we get this fight to the ground at the end here, Sursakayev gets him down, gets a rear naked choke, and it's deep. It is very deep, and we have a ref who clearly doesn't know what an unconscious person looks like because he's holding it way longer than it needs to. But what is so interesting about this is when Sursakayev finally lets go and Jordan Santos is laying there lifeless, and you're like, oh yeah, he's fucked up. The camera pans to Sursakayev running around, and then the camera pans back, and Jordan Santos is on his feet, and he's just like standing around. And I'm like, how the fuck did he do that? I just saw this dude dead a second ago, and he's like thinking he's still in the fight. I'm like,
Yeah, he popped right back
crazy.
up. Yeah. I mean, that's,
Yeah.
sometimes how that goes. You go out and, you think you're still in it.
But yeah, that was crazy. But either
Yeah,
way, yeah.
certainly.
So Sursakayev to get the finish again on a Brazilian at this point, he choked him unconscious, bro. I mean, with a rear naked. So
He certainly did, but it was like 2 rounds. I mean, I had it one apiece going into the third. I said, time is running
yes,
out in this pretty neck and neck fight for these two. Could this be the time where the aura fades? And of course, it was not. He did end up getting the rear naked choke, but it's just like, how many times are you going to let this thing go right down to the wire? And I mean, before you finally end up kind of making yourself look foolish by not being able to pull it off. if that is just look, if he has that like magical ability to just do this consistently forever, fair play to him. But I just don't see it. And honestly, I mean, like I thought that Santos was doing some pretty decent work earlier in this fight. I gave him that first round off of the damage. It wasn't like a crazy eventful first round, but I thought he did the better work. Susurkayev was really just throwing a bunch of calf kicks to start, and not enough to swing the round, in my opinion. And I like what you had said about Santos earlier, where it's like he does have some tricky combos. It's like I class it as like death by 1,000 cuts with this guy, where it's like it's just a lot of touches, but like they're not all like crazy powerful, but over time the volume just eventually ends up getting to you. And when we're going to talk about the main event, you see that sometimes that can be a difference maker. So I don't dislike Santos with the style that he has. I think that it's going to be tricky to make that actually consistently effective when you get higher up in this sport. And I mean, certainly a fight like this shows that a little bit, to an extent as well. But I liked some of the work he was doing. And of course, like I said, maybe I am a hater, but Susurkayev, just the emoting, it was really getting to me.
I I just find that the last portion there, I find it interesting. You're like, man, Santos, his style is not going to really work at the higher level. I mean, he's 0-2. I mean, he lost to Ozzy Diaz, who we already saw. I
It's a
mean,
good
come on.
point.
So there ain't no higher level that he's getting to yet. We're gonna have to see him pull out a win before I start thinking, yeah, I mean, yeah, he's gonna have to work against the higher. No, that's not even in question. He's gonna have to figure out something that works against the lower level guys. Like I mean,
You make a very fair point. I will certainly go with you on that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean, again, I think that really I'm just going off of the lack of my enjoyment of watching Susurkayev. I mean, especially there's one moment that I had to mention specifically with this. Santos gets him clinched up. I think it was in the second round, and Susurkayev just starts emoting. Hands are up. Oh, hey, I'm being clinched up here. The crowd was booing, I think, the clinch, but I choose to believe that they were booing the emoting because, bro, you are the fighter. It is your job to get out of the clinch. Why are you emoting to the crowd like, hey, are we all in agreement that this sucks? Yeah, it does. Fix it. You're the fixer.
I do find it very interesting. You have a lot of fighters who try really hard to execute something, but there really is a level of like it's smooth in a way that Sursakayev really, and this is going to be his detriment. I'm not saying that this is. He is so comfortable in there that he's just everything is natural to him. He can wrestle. He can just drop down and just shoot a takedown. He can just grab a choke and just and unconscious people. Like he really just has raw skill that a good humbling would really make him a great fighter is really what it comes down to. I think when you look at him, you see everything that you need to see. But like you just wish that he would kind of lock in a little bit. And you got to understand that like he's on another level than your average prospect. He's in the potential superstar, Tommy McMillan's kind of deal. He you gotta respect that he's putting on a show. He tries, I guess, but he effortlessly, whatever. He does it at ease. He's very good at putting on a show without trying very hard. Let me say that.
Well, he's also very good at making me prey on his downfall. Then
I agree. I
You know, I,
agree.
I I think you make a good point, though. I do think that like a good humbling could make a really great fighter out of him. I think that actually really tracks. So if that's the case, then fair enough. And if he can keep making this work as well, also fair play to him. As much as I don't like Josh Hokett's shtick, he's making him the work is making it so that he can do that. So same kind of with this. It's like if you can make this work for you, then you're shutting me up. You know what I mean? I don't have any leg to stand on if you win the fights. So fair play to him. He certainly won this one. He certainly made Jordan Santos go to sleep in there. And for that, I cannot fault him.
Yeah, absolutely. Sursakayev lives on another day.
Indeed. And we're just going to have to see who they match him up with to see if he can continue to make this effective for himself.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, moving on here to the next one. Shout out to the 10-7 MMA coming in the chat. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you very much for having me on your show. Next up on the docket here is Pat Sabatini versus William Gomez. Talk about a style for the ages. Chase, I don't know if you've ever heard the term before, but styles make fights. This one right here. Styles made this fight for sure.
What I want to begin this topic with, because I think it's partly maybe one of the more interesting stories, because this fight doesn't have much to say about it. But William Gomi, no longer representing France, apparently. He's just doing the Senegal thing. It did
Oh,
say out
really?
of France, but he is repping Senegal and he did have the Senegal flag Yeah, but either way, it did say fighting out of France, but he's repping Senegal now. But either way.
Ah, interesting. I wonder what that's about.
I do also wonder what that's about, but because France made him miss weight by 4 fucking pounds, and he was like, all right, chill out, guys, I gotta go back home. Um,
Senegal wouldn't do that to me.
yeah, probably, but no, this fight is another example of you just cannot reward people for sucking at wrestling against certain people. And I know Pat Sabatini's a good wrestler, but specifically when you have somebody that you can't take down and you continuously try to take them down and you don't ever really get them down, at a certain point you have to, and I'm being real, after round one they should have subbed in Tony Weeks to be one of the fucking judges, because William Gomi should have won this fight, I think, because Pat Sabatini did nothing. This was one of the worst mixed martial arts performances. Like, wrestling in a cage needs to be its own sport for some of these people, because this is just not interesting to me.
Fucking RAF. I mean, Pat Sabatini could
There's
go
no
and clean
cage
up.
there, dude.
Well,
There's no
what?
cage there. He wants to
Regardless,
do it in the cage, clearly. He clearly wants to bring wrestling in a cage to the UFC. He needs to go make his own promotion, because this shit right here was not fun at all. I don't, it's funny because I let you kind of sway me. Like, I know last performance, Pat Sabatini, not this one, the one before it, Pat Sabatini looked more impressive than I feel like he had in the past. But there was always something about him that I knew he was just not fraud, but like just not that guy, you know? And sometimes people who are good and not great, they have performances where they look under average. You know, that's where they have a great performance and then it balances out as a good fighter. This is one of those performances where it was a below average performance. Nothing really happened. And he has to get another fantastic performance to balance out and to counteract what the hell I had to watch here. Because William Gomi, we know what he actually impressed me a lot here without, with not getting taken down a lot. Pat Sabatini worked tremendously, as hard as he could have ever tried to take this dude down, and he really just did not get it. There was never really success that he had getting him down. And it's absolutely crazy that William Gomi had to land like 4 strikes total for me to be like, yeah, he's inflicting the damage. He is doing the first thing in the criteria of the rule pamphlet. He is doing that. And I feel like he once again, and this goes back to the Hyder Emil thing. He was on a 12-fight win streak. Not to say that he got robbed, but it was potentially a closer fight than what it was. Split decision could have went his way. I think in this, giving a unanimous decision to Pat Sabatini, it's setting a bad example for people, because Torres Finney can now go ahead and think that he's going to go win like Pat Sabatini. He probably went on Twitter and applauded this performance. Like, I don't, I
well, all
don't
right.
like it.
I will offer at least one counter argument to this with a caveat. So what I will say is I do agree with you that there does need to be changes to the rules to account for takedown defense. It has to happen. If you have a fight like this where you've got one guy holding a person against the cage and the referee that I specifically wrote this referee's name down. This was Vincent Dudley was this referee. And I just said he was very content with just watching Pat cage hug Gomez for the entirety of this fight. Basically, it's like, dude, when do you step in and break this up? I mean, like, there was no break in any portion of it. So that's point number one. There should be some type of accounting for takedown defense or some type of negation of what they're trying to do, because if you don't account for that, then you're literally just allowing a person to rack up control time and counting that as offense, which it is not. So I will say that. But what I will also say as the counter argument is, because I at least gave Gomi one of these rounds, I gave him the second round because there was some time where he was able to get strikes off. If you are in a situation where you are being clinched to the extent that Gomez was, you need to figure out some way to make some type of offense happen, even if it takes a little bit of brazenness on your part, a little bit of getting a little bit reckless, a little bit out of your comfort zone in accepting the clinch. Because that's the only reason I had to give Pat the 2 rounds, the first and the third, was because Gomez did nothing. He didn't do anything to make anything happen for himself. That is your job, whether it's going to be getting on your back and then getting up after that, or figuring a way to make it a 50-50 or whatever you have to do. You got to do something aside from just accepting being in the clinch, because that's what he did. And that's why I had to give Pat those 2 rounds.
Yeah, I mean, there really ain't much to it. I don't think talking about it anymore. I don't think talking about it anymore is gonna do justice to anybody who really watched this fight. You would know that Pat Sabatini really doesn't deserve for me to say anything good about that performance. I mean, he really didn't show anything that made you think, yeah, he needs the next level up. He needs a ranked guy. He needs this. It's like no fucking way, brother. Stay away from fights where I. How did you get on a pay per view, brother? Seriously, this is crazy. This performance here is. I don't know. I'll just remember it. I will not forget a performance like this. And then I'll remember like, oh, but the one before that, he looked phenomenal, but then he looked like not great. So what about this one against some unranked guy on 4 days' notice that they found outside of the fucking arena? It's like, yeah, he probably looks amazing, but
Well,
going forward, I don't know.
the only, last thing that I will posit here, and just to play devil's advocate, is this not a situation like what we talk about with other fighters, where it's to be a mixed martial artist, you need to have all of the skill sets, and Gomez just does not have the ground game to handle. I mean, because
Well,
he's a striker. That was the whole thing. They're saying, oh, a wrestler versus striker here. Obviously, he didn't have the wrestling to negate the offensive wrestling. He didn't have the defense. So
it's nothing about his ground game. What are we talking about? William Gomi is actually a very well-rounded fighter, I believe. The reason that he doesn't have to have a ground game because he doesn't get taken down. The dude shot 20 takedown attempts and he got 3, and the ones that he did, he got right back up from. Gomi was getting up from all of the attempts here. His wrestling is actually pretty solid. The fact that Pat Sabatini, who's a very good wrestler, that's why he was the favorite coming in here. He's supposed to fucking ragdoll this dude. But no, he had to hold him up against the cage because nothing was working. Everything was negated because William Gomi was so content with not getting taken down by
where's
the
the
wrestler.
offense, though? That's what I'm saying. Where's the offense to back that?
I get it. I get it. Second round, like you said, he was able to do something, and he third round, maybe he lost his way a little bit. But again, you can't reward somebody for doing nothing but holding a position but you're telling the other person who's defending the holded position, like they're both in a position where they're defending something in some way. It's not one person is like using none of their muscles and the other person is using 100% of their energy to try to get them down. William Gomi is still in a position where he's defending something, just because he doesn't, just hammer elbows. If he started doing this, he'd probably end up on his butt, whatever. But he probably would have won the fight. Who knows? It's obviously in hindsight. But the point is, Pat Sabatini is just clearly not that guy, and I'm very glad that he's not somebody that I tremendously like, and I'm like the biggest fan of this guy because I would be really upset with a performance like this. I know he won, but the fact that he almost could have, and in my opinion, there's people out there for the Pat Sabatini fan, for them to know that there's people out there like me who think William Gomi won off of a very minuscule performance against somebody who quote unquote dominated them with the wrestling. It's just a bad look. Pat Sabatini, you should just fucking dominate these people if you're that good with your wrestling, but you have nothing. You have nothing but holding on to the position. Why didn't he throw some punches with it while he's holding on to the leg? Why didn't he try to do a leg sweep? He won the fight and he didn't look good doing it. I think it says more about that performance than the person who lost, because people lose all the time and they look like shit. But if you look like shit and you're fucking winning, how do I expect you to look good when like the next fight? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think that you make a good point with that for sure. Yeah, there needs to be a little bit more to actually make yourself stand out, because these are the types of performances that you get the win, the record continues to increase. You get another notch on your win column, but it certainly does not inspire anybody to want to watch you, and that I think is unfortunate, because I think Pat is better than this. Honestly, I agree. I mean, I was playing devil's advocate with some of those questions, but in reality, I mean, yeah, I think this was a very bad look for Pat. Honestly, I think that he's shown in previous fights that he is better than this. So I don't understand why this was the specific go-to. And plus, his team in the corner was really egging this on. Like they were, really like, you're doing great. Everything you're doing is working exactly as this was a game plan situation. This was Pat Barry and Rose Namajunas in the Carla Esparza fight right here. Keep doing it. Don't fuck the crowd. Plan is working. If the crowd is booing, the plan is working. And that's like, oh well, I don't think that's a good look. So I agree with you on that part.
Yeah, I just think, the self awareness for Pat Sabatini, for somebody who's aspiring to be a top level guy in this game, like to not understand that entertainment is part of why you would get pushed towards the top of the rankings. I mean, I don't know what to tell you, bro. I mean, you've been around long enough. You saw Diego Lopez. You got finished by Diego Lopez, and he skyrocketed towards the top of the division. Now you're still clawing for a ranked position against people like William Gomi, and if you don't understand why, I mean, you got to rewind about 5 minutes in the podcast, brother. I just told you.
Fair enough. Well, I guess we'll leave it at that then. He did get the win. Shout out to him for at least that portion of it, but needs improvement, I guess would be the final note there, Pat. Make it exciting, brother. You're going to get passed over for opportunities.
For sure.
All right, moving on to the next one here. This is where fight IQ starts to go down very rapidly. This is Roman Kopylov versus Marco Tulio. Yeah, like I said, that was my first note. The beginning of the low fight IQ moments was this fight right here. Started out kind of slow, this fight. Tulio landed a couple of decent shots, some good kicks. I was like, okay, this is a fine way. I picked Tulio to win this fight. So I was like, all right, I'm seeing some decent stuff here. Nothing like so crazy that it's it's like really swinging like, oh, this is going to be a dominant performance or anything like that. Kopylov was mildly active, I would say. But Tulio, I thought, took round one pretty fine. Tulio, if he had started more aggressively, might have maybe worn Kopylov down and negated himself from what eventually was coming, because round two, things get real bad real quick.
No, yeah, this actually was a really fun fight. Funny enough, on the bet slip, I was weighing my options. I'm like, man, Kopylov decision. I just feel it, but thankfully I didn't place that. I mean, obviously I should have, but I would have been sweating it because this fight was pretty. This was pretty nuts. Oh my goodness, just lost Thinker.
Lost me. I'm back. We're back.
Good deal.
Hello.
All right, I'm on top now, guys. I am the cap. Oh, but either way, so Roman Kopylov came into this fight as the underdog, and a lot of people were curious of what that's about. He's a veteran, he's been around. Marco Tulio has 2 UFC fights, and he got viciously brutalized in one of them. So what's the deal? But when you watch round one, and you see just how you get reminded just how good Marco Tulio is on the feet. And this actually wasn't one of his better performances, and obviously what's soon to come. But round one, he looked formidable. He looked like, oh man, he's gonna turn up a little bit. He's gonna get a little more. He's gonna catch the rhythm. He looked very good in round one, and I was like, ah shit. Odds makers were right. Kopylov is fucking cooked. He ain't getting nothing off here. He ain't getting nothing. But round two, obviously, Kopylov just decided I'm going to punch him in the face. I'm just going to punch him in the face as straight as my arm can go. I'm going to do that right in his face. And evidently it worked 3 different times because Marco Tulio just can't fucking catch on. He don't have, and I'm not saying that listen, the striking defense, it's his chin is just in the air and he has his hands already low. He attempts. I'm not going to say that he just doesn't attempt to defend. He attempts, but his hands are really low. And as the fight goes on, he gets a little slower. He probably cuts a lot more weight. He's a real big dude. But, obviously Kopylov was just able to beat him to the punch, literally. And every time he caught him, he was dropping him. And I'm surprised Kopylov didn't get the finish, but Marco Tulio's a really tough dude. Let me just say it that way.
Oh, okay. You're letting Roman Kopylov off the hook very, very easily. That's a little slap on the wrist compared to what he deserves for that. So let me go through the notes that I have for round two on. Round two, tags start both way. It starts to become a little bit more of a fight here. Kopylov gets cut on the eyelid pretty bad. I mean, that was a decent sized cut. I didn't even really acknowledge it in the moment because I thought it was on the side of the eye. I thought it might have been around the side of the nose, but it was actually the eyelid. And when you saw it after the round, it was a really decent cut on the eyelid. So I'm thinking Tulio is sailing his way to a nice, easy victory. If he stays controlled and measured, this is going to be a nice way to just finish out this fight. Nice, easy way to the victory here. No, of course not. Of course, he does not do that. As you said, chin is always out in the air, so you always have to be acknowledging that potential is always lurking around the corner for him to get caught. He gets greedy, he overextends, and he gets clipped late in round two. And then Kopylov starts to chase the finish. He drops Tulio, he follows him to the cage, and then goes into the clinch. Brother, what are you doing? This was your opportunity to make this finish happen. So, okay, fine. It's end of the round, though. Surely in round 3, he's going to come out here and just brutalize him. And in the first 30 seconds of round 3, Tulio's dropped 2 more times. Kopylov takes him down. After that, there is no excuse for the ridiculousness of this decision making. What was this from Kopylov? It was recognizable to everybody, least of which should have been him, as the person in the cage right there should have been so on top of this.
I think, me personally, what I would say is Roman Kopylov was showing signs of fatigue. I mean, yes, his eye was busted up, he was bleeding a lot, and his nose is already shattered. He probably can't breathe out that thing at all. But he was starting to slow down in round two. At the end, he gets the drop, doesn't want to push the finish because if he gasses himself, he has nothing for round three. And what I think here at the beginning of round three when he drops him twice, I think what he realized is like I'm just not gonna knock him out. I mean, that's three times as of right now. I'm just not gonna with sheer power. I'm just not gonna do it. And I think he was after that. He has nothing left in the tank, but what he has left, he can finish the fight with. Because towards the end of the fight, I mean, he really was just playing, a little evasiveness kind of deal, making sure that he didn't get too rambunctious because he was apt to get finished against somebody who was clearly still walking forward after being dropped three different times kind of deal. I want to give Kopylov a little veteran status here, like he's fighting for his job here. He knows if I fuck up, if I gas out and I can't finish the dude that I done dropped three times, like it ain't looking good for me. So I don't. I I expected a decision here because Marco Tulio. I expected him to show the exact toughness that he did, but I do agree with you, Kopylov. On a better day, he would have finished this, but I think he just didn't. He's just tired, just extra tired today. I don't know.
Fair enough if it was fatigue. I thought that this was a monumental fumble of the bag because this could have been another highlight knockout for him, or at least a good solid finish. Like the highlights themselves are the drops, so he has those. I guess you get that off of it, and you got the win out of it, so fine. But I mean, I just said I hope that by decision prop was a good value for Kopylov's homies back home. It's
Yeah,
unfortunate that might be the case there, but I doubt it. I'm just saying that like this seemed like an in the bag finish for him, especially when you have it twice, two different rounds. You have the opportunity. The second of which in the third round was early in the round. I mean, you had all of that time to make this happen, and you end up essentially letting Tulio off the hook to the point where he's able to recover to the point of like his round one touches again. You know what I mean? Which is what it ended up being. Like you said, it was evasive. It was a couple of touches, and that was it.
yeah, I do. But hey, this was a decent scrap. I actually really liked this fight. I know there was a lot of things to expect out of a finish. But I I think Marco Tulio is really tough. I think he deserved to get to the bell because Kopylov obviously didn't have that finish in him. And I truly believe like after you drop a dude three, four times, it's like you can't do it eight. Muhammad Yahya, I get it. Like that happened once, but like realistically, you got to figure something else out, bro. You just can't keep dropping them. It's just not gonna. Eventually, my hand's gonna hurt way too much for me to even do it. So I don't know.
Fair, I guess. Maybe I'm being a little bit overcritical. It just seemed like, low IQ to go into the clinch in the moment that he did because he could
I
have stood him
I
up.
I definitely agree. I definitely agree. I was I was thinking he should have finished that fight too, but he got the win and he whooped his ass. So what can you say?
Yeah, I mean, well, that's certainly true. So shout out to Kopylov for the win. Tulio, I mean, I'm starting to get a little concerned about all of the glaring holes that he's now showing because, like you said, I mean, this is not the first time that we've seen this or something similar at least. And, I always thought that he had like some pretty good raw potential, but if he doesn't start fixing like these pretty glaring holes, like what we're talking about, keeping the chin up, all of the things that, end up making it so that he's easily touched. Oh, the overextension that dropped him the first time. I mean, like those types of things, you're not going to get away with that as you go on, man. I mean, and now you're kind of putting yourself in a bad situation as far as matchmaking goes. You might be able to get away with it with one of the next guys, but if you want to stay up, keep raising up after that, then there's a lot that needs to be fixed. Norma Dumont needs to help this man.
Yeah, absolutely. And hey, shout out Shootbox, of course. You guys got to figure out how to get Marco Tulio in the win column, man. Jesus Christ.
For real. But yep, shout out to Roman Kopylov for getting the dub, even if it was not a finish.
Yeah.
All right. Well, moving on to one that made my heart warm, even if I was not correct in the prediction here. This is a kind of a funny one to me. This is Jim Miller versus Jared Gordon. What I said, and Mystic St. James, not at the time he needs to be, but on the watch along, we were talking about this fight as it was starting, and I said during the walkouts, the only way Jim Miller might win this fight is by guillotine, because I remembered the pop that I had when Jim Miller pulled off the jump gilly on Damon Jackson to win that fight. And had I thought that that was a possibility to actually happen, my prediction could have been a lot better maybe on this show, but I did not expect it from Jared Gordon. And that, I think, is really more of the emphasis I put on this fight. Bro, you cannot be getting guillotined at this level of the game, at this many fights in the game. Jared Gordon is 21-9, brother, now 21-8 coming into this fight. You cannot be letting this happen, yet it happens. So Jim Miller is the Iron Man. I'm very happy about that part of it. I like old man Miller doing it for all the old guys out there. But Jared Gordon, like, bro, you just cannot leave your neck open like that, which he certainly did.
Yeah, this fight, I mean, what is there even to say? I mean, it says it lasted 3.5 minutes, but guys, Jared Gordon put his head right into a guillotine and let the old man sub him. I mean, case closed. There ain't really too much more to say. Jared Gordon at one time had a close matchup with Patty the Batty, but it appears to me that if you're letting Jim Miller get an easy win, just the easiest, one of the easier wins of his career, he's still doing it. Unc still got it. Jared Gordon, come on, brother. Like you didn't even give him one shiner. You didn't give him a black eye. You didn't bust his nose up. You didn't make him work at all, really. I mean,
Well,
it was
that was
just
the
crazy.
problem. Yeah, the problem that I had with it was that it was when Gordon was trying for a single leg out at open water that the neck was open like that. It's like, bro, I mean, like the the entry needs to be more calculated this early in the fight. This was round 1 that this was happening. It's like you go for something that is going to expose you like that, which, I mean, granted, if you maybe grab the leg at a different angle, if you did a pull-out move like Makachev does, where like you grab the leg out and like fling him, that could have worked a little bit differently. There's a lot of different ways to like accomplish what you were trying to do that don't leave your neck immediately in the position to have the arm wrapped around it. But he chose the one that does that. This was Gilly for the gold from Miller. I mean, he saw an open neck and latched onto it. What more do you want to say to that? I mean, I said this was nice work to complete the sub on the ground for Miller. He certainly had it in one position, had to roll it to the other side to make it effective and win with it. But again, the sequence that led up to it was just a miscalculation on Gordon's part that cannot happen at this stage of your career.
And it did. What
Yeah.
can you say?
Said it the same with Andre Feely when he got guillotined by Melky Costa.
Yeah, I feel like, when people lose to Muslim Salikov, it's like, all right, he's at least an experienced striker. He knows how to hide stuff, set up strikes, whatever you want to say. And that wheel kick is deadly. But it's like jujitsu, I mean, you put your face right where the dude has multiple wins by a specific choke. I don't feel sorry for you, brother. Head back to the line, bro. No, you just lost to literally the oldest person in the organization. So, you, I, I don't really know what to tell you, bro. I have nothing really to say.
Yeah, no, I mean, and there really isn't too much to say. It's just an unfortunate thing when it comes to Jared Gordon, who I think is the better striker out of the two. I mean, Miller started with a decent flurry, and I was like, okay, this might actually be like a striking battle between these two. And we've seen Jared Gordon have those before, so that could have been it, but it certainly was not. The only other real note I had about the fight itself was that Gordon got kicked in the nuts. He tanks the damage, had a delayed reaction, which ended up being a stoppage. And then we got the steel tie cups conversation from Joe Rogan. So if that was on your bingo card, make sure you take a shot.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. It's not illegal. It's just $12 at the store. You can literally just go out there and yeah. He's crazy, bro.
I always, it is certainly on the bingo card and always gets the hit when Rogan is on the commentary. Other than that, I did want to at least acknowledge and say it was very fantastic to hear that Jim Miller's son got through his illness that he was battling and is now healthy. You love to hear that. So congratulations to the Miller family for that. And then the other note that I had in relation to that was, could they not have found some better seats for Jim Miller's family? They were, they cut to his family out in the crowd and they were Yeah, exactly. You needed the Luke Skywalker binocular set to be able to see them out there, which I was like, I mean, this dude is the most tenured fighter in the organization, and these people are sitting in the absolute nosebleediest of nosebleed seats.
Yeah, they must not have expected him to win because they didn't usher him down like he has his family.
Yeah, oh well, that's literal cage side for them. That's a completely different story. But Jim Miller did just sign another 5-fight contract, so I guess maybe when he does decide to retire, they'll get that treatment, perhaps.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah,
No, this is crazy. This dude, what how many UFC fights does he have?
uh,
Um
it's like well, they say that he's going to try to be rounding out 50.
yes.
So I think yeah,
So if he just signed
40.
5 more, I mean, potentially could he get 60?
No, I mean I think that the 5 will take him to the 50, I believe.
Oh, okay, I got you.
I
Gotcha.
think I don't quote me on that, but I think that that's what it is to try to get him to that number.
Cool.
But
Gotcha.
yeah, and now just behind Charles Oliveira for most finishes at lightweight as well. So that's kind of a cool little stat.
That is pretty good. Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, shout out to Jim Miller still doing the damn thing, and of course, like I said, shout out to his family. I'm very happy to hear his son is healthy.
Absolutely. 100%.
All right, well, let's move on to the next one here. That was more of a more of a fight and another very very low fight IQ moment. Grant Dawson, he fought Mateusz Rambecki. So okay, coming into this fight, you had mentioned that Rambecki had a little bit of a black eye, and I looked and I didn't necessarily see it at first, but then the broadcast was talking about it. And I mean, I guess upon looking at it again, I was like, yeah, all right, I see a little bit of puffiness, a little bit of darkness around the eye. And then they say he got the black eye in the back room in the dressing room, and I said, how the hell does that happen?
This pisses me off too because these are always the funniest ones. You'll be just watching the broadcast and you have your money placed on a real good dog, and then you find out he got fucked up in the back before the fight. Like, what are we talking about? What do you mean he just got a black eye in the back? Telling me his eye now is compromised. The thing that he sees with.
Yeah.
Interesting.
and,
This is the
and
guy that I picked.
and ironically, like not only compromised, but then immediately tested because it was a kick from Dawson early in the fight that ends up opening the eye that was blackened. So I mean, like, what the
Yeah,
Jesus Christ?
that one made me a little upset too because I mean, fair play if story goes that the fight started and he looked across the cage and he said, "That motherfucker's got a black eye. I'm going to kick him right in that eye." Fair play to him, but to me as an outsider, for the commentary to go, "Yeah, he's got a black eye that he just suffered in the back," and then you see the opposing fighter kick him right in the eye and then he starts bleeding from the exact location that he just kicked. One, it's Rebechki. You know that this dude's gonna bleed no matter what. But it's like, are we fucking for real? Like, were we really trying to be set up for a first round fucking head kick from this dude? Like, was Vegas just on it because they sent some rogue guy to trip Rebechki in the back or something? Like, I really don't know what happened here, but that does not excuse what we had to witness because Grant Dawson actually and this is just unfortunate because Rebechki has beaten some people that I really like. He's had close fights with a lot of people that I really like, and I think that are really good fighters. So the fact that Grant Dawson had one of the better performances that he's ever had against Rebechki, at least in the first round. Second round, he gets fucking obliterated by Rebechki, and Rebechki doesn't know how to fucking finish a fight randomly. I knew this, guys. I had been saying this all fight week. Like, Rebechki decision is really speaking to me. Excuse me. But and people are like, "Oh, he's got power. Have you not seen his opponents after him?" I was like, "Look at Miktabek, look at Chris Duncan." It's like, yeah, but he doesn't finish these guys. And like, this speaks right to it. It's like he just clearly doesn't know how to finish fucking fights. I have no idea because the second round, he lets Grant Dawson off the hook and the round ends. And we go into round 3 and you're like, "Oh my God, he's gonna do it. He's gonna finish him around 3. He's got him right where he wants him." And then he lets Grant Dawson take him fucking down, and this dude is fishing for the same submissions that he was trying already that he wasn't getting. And Mateusz Rambecki randomly just decides that I'm just gonna get choked out for the first time ever in my career. Fuck it, I'm just done.
Well,
I just
the one thing I have to correct there is in round 3, he didn't let Dawson take him down. He initiated this ground game. Rebechki tripped Dawson and then goes to the ground with him after all of what you have seen of Grant Dawson having all of the control. I said earlier in the fight, low IQ moment from Dawson in round 2, playing the striking game with Mateusz. I was like, you got clipped from that. You should not be playing in his world. by extension, you also should not be playing in the opposite world, brother. You are not on the same level when it comes to the ground game here. Low IQ moments upon low IQ moments in this thing. He let the finish go into a ravine in round two. I mean, Rebeshki, having it in his hand and just deciding to go to the ground instead, go into the clinch rather. It's like, why are you not punching? Okay, fine, whatever. But then to initiate the trip and go to the ground after what you had seen, I said Rebeshki is an exciting fighter, but he might be a little bit of a fucking idiot. I mean, like, he just might not be a very bright guy. I don't know.
I don't know. I think this is another one of these situations where you could visibly see him looking up at the clock, back in round two. And he might have been tired, didn't want to push the finish because he was confident he can get it in round three. But I mean, it's inexcusable to get to the submission that he got to. I'm not gonna lie, because this is a guy who's never been submitted. So this is again why I think this is a little bit of the fatigue where he just finally gave into it. Like, I'm tired of shit. Let's get it over with. But the fact that he bro, Grant Dawson, when he looks at this fight and he takes away, this is what sucks. This is my opinion. In Grant Dawson's defense, hell of a fight. You worked through it. You got the finish. I really shout out to you. And maybe I'm a hater for saying it this way, but Grant Dawson is going to take away this victory. And he's gonna be like, man, I worked really hard. I fought through hell of adversity. I'm that dude now. I proved that I will fight through anything. And it's like, motherfucker, like, Ilya is going to murder you if you ever get there. Like, I don't know, brother. I can't believe Mateusz Rebecki, just because people who have lost to this guy or people that he has beaten very closely are very good in my eyes. Grant Dawson just does not fit that build, but he did get the submission win. That is what happened. So
Yeah, it hurts my heart. It hurts my soul with how this all went down. It also hurt my ears in the post fight, having to sit and listen to Grant Dawson evangelizing on the microphone. Please shut the fuck up. It's one thing to praise your Lord and Savior. It's another thing to tell the entire rest of the world that they're going to hell if they don't follow the same religion that you follow, which I think is really disgusting. But whatever. Either way, you were right. He did win this fight. But the emphasis has to go back on Rumbechki. How do you fumble the finish like this as bad as he did? I mean, it's just you're sitting there watching it and you're just like, the commentary's asking the questions, you're asking the questions. Dean Thomas in the round after is asking the questions. Why are any of these things happening? It's just I just have in the notes just a big why going across with a bunch of exclamation points, because that's the only thing that you can really say to what you saw from Rumbechki in this fight. And look, there are some fighters who I would say are not the brightest people on the planet. And this is I'm really not even trying to be like offensive by saying this. Some people are stronger in different areas, whatever. I would say that someone like Marab is not like necessarily like the smartest guy on the planet. He's, there are times that you see before fights, he'll be doing things that you're like, why is that? He gets injured a lot outside of the fights, whatever. He goes in there and has a massively like solid game plan for the most part when he is fighting. This does not speak to that. And that's why I have to say, like, I don't know if I can ride with Rumbechki the same way that I once did, because it's like being tough is one thing, but having a plan is another thing. And that was where we got the fumble here.
I would love to just believe that, he's gonna come out on Instagram or Twitter and say, like, it was a real bad camp. I fucking tripped and I got a black eye. I obviously had to, something. I had to get stitches on that eye 2 weeks ago. Whatever. Hopefully, there's a good, legitimate excuse that I would look at and be like, okay, I believe that you got tired and you were also compromised in some way. You have never been submitted before. Like, something obviously had. Grant Dawson, they were talking about it. This guy's the greatest in AT&T. They talk about when he grapples guys, it's like it's some strength they've never felt before. Rebechki's never been submitted. Something was clearly up. Obviously came in with the black eye too as well. So
Well,
I would just
that I think was a perfect segue into our next fight. If you are ready to move on, then Chase.
yes.
All right, let's do it. This next fight, perfect transition. This is Joel Alvarez versus Yaroslav Amosov. Did you see the Instagram reel that was posted recently in the Discord from Amosov? don't know if you caught this one.
Oh, he was wearing sunglasses or
He
something and
was.
talking.
Exactly. And what he showed, this was from before the fight. He waited until after the fight to post this. And I was like, all right, I like this guy even more now for this. He's talking, he's saying, oh, my fight camp went really good, but there's always something that happens. This camp was going really great. And I was just waiting for the other foot to drop, is basically what he was saying. He lifts up his sunglasses. He has a black eye. Came into this fight, did what he did in this fight, possibly compromised, if you want to even think that that might have been a compromise. So I say that to say, if we're giving Rumbetsky a little bit of a pass based on other extenuating circumstances, somehow Yaroslav Amosov made it work. Should we not be counting that as maybe even high? I don't know. I'm not trying to dogpile on Rumbetsky here. Maybe I'm trying to say that Amosov is even more on that level than other people might be, but just had to put it out there because those comparisons are right there.
I'm gonna say something, and it's not controversial, but it is unfortunate reality. The in comparison to those two things, I would say that they're not comparable because Grant Dawson performed 5 times better than Joel Alvarez did.
You make a great point there.
This is one of the worst performances that I think I've seen. Listen, just one fight ago, we saw an entire round of Joel Alvarez sitting on top of Vicente Luque, and I thought that was very questionable for him going forward at welterweight. Like, what does that show for you? That's what he had. This is a guy who's a finish or be finish kind of guy. 17 submissions, never been submitted, and now we go into this fight, and there's still questions of what he's going to be at welterweight, and you have somebody who's a true welterweight, of course, and Joel Alvarez just clearly has no fucking skills at welterweight. I don't know where they went. Where'd the
Uh,
striking go? Where'd the
the
where'd the wrestling? Where'd the grappling go? I'm confused.
the first note in my notes is the Alvarez at 170 experiment has failed. And I mean, I think that now is more clear than ever. It's very unfortunate. I was a big supporter of Joel Alvarez early on. Got to see him get a knockout live. Certainly heightened my interest in him. I thought that this is a guy who had a lot of potential. He moves up, and this is like a night and day difference. What we have been seeing out of him in this fight specifically, you couldn't have hit the nail any more on the head. This was such an inactive performance from him. Not only in round one, like round one, okay. You know me, I like fast starters. I think starting strong is always very important, but I will at least give a little bit of leeway to the fact that Amosov is very good and you're trying to figure out what you're doing here. Okay, if that's, if you want to, if you need to take off a round, I don't like it, but I can at least accept it if you come back that much stronger. We see Piotr Jan do it all the time. It can be done. Alvarez did not do that in the slightest. No activity in round one, aside from Amosov running into a face-first jab. That was kind of funny, but that was the only activity from Alvarez. Then round two, he continues acting like he has all the time in the world, like he didn't just get manhandled in the first round. So it's like, okay, no urgency whatsoever. I guess Amosov is just going to pick you up, slam you down to the mat, and make you tap like chicken. What else do you expect?
No, this actually was horrible because again, this is somebody who Joel Alvarez was. He was supposed to be that guy, moving up to a division that has got a lot of scary fighters in it, a lot of great strikers, a lot of great, a lot of people who Joel Alvarez could match up potentially well with, or for what we once thought. But I said it as soon as it was happening. Amosov really was just treating Joel Alvarez like a little kid. Like he just was in there. He just picked him up, dropped him, choked him out. Like I mean, it went to round two, and we'll talk about this in the next fight. It's like, did it really? Because to be
Right.
honest, there wasn't anything going on in round one. The only thing I remember is Amosov just blitzed him, grabbed him around the waist, picked him up, threw him on the mat, and the fight was over within the next 15 seconds. Joel Alvarez, again, for a guy who's never been submitted with 17 submissions, and hopefully he's a black belt. Well, if he is a black belt, I think you probably should have. I mean, and this just goes back to it. Maybe mixing in mixed martial arts to with jujitsu. I mean, he got slammed on the ground, and then I guess he just forgot everything in his arsenal. Once you really mix in the other physical combat aspects, it's like, did he really have jujitsu that entire time, or did all you have to do was just slam him to the fucking ground, and then he had nothing? Like that's just what's unfortunate. It's like I get Amosov is good, but like Joel Alvarez, you took this fight because in your mind, you're better than this guy. You could beat this guy. But the fact is, when he's lifting you in the air and you got a smile on your face because you're having a grandiose time kind of deal, it's like, yeah, you guys submitted 15 fucking seconds later, bro. Like it's unfortunate. I'm not gonna lie. I really didn't like this performance from Alvarez, but because what I will say about that too is like I would love to take away like, man, Amosov's that guy, 2 straight submissions in the UFC, but like Alvarez didn't perform. So I can't really say that, yeah, he's got it. Amosov deserved to be able to get a submission against a formidable opponent for then me to be able to have a rocket on his back that he can do something here. But the fact he beat up and submitted a guy who wasn't doing anything, it's like, thank God he did. Now let's get him a real opponent. Let's get him somebody that he can prove it against.
Right. Well, in that, I mean, that's the ultimate takeaway, I think, is like, regardless of Alvarez being a grappling dummy in this fight, you do now have the wins to allow for him to have that advancement. So I think that's the bigger takeaway is just, Amosov is now proving that he is at least of the caliber to hang. Can he actually hang when there is that adversity? That is what we need to see now going forward. The Neil Magny fight had a little bit more than this in a lot of ways. I mean, like, which is not a great comparison for Joel Alvarez. I said this is an actual trouncing from Amosov, who is somewhat of the real deal. Still, maybe a slight question mark, but you're seeing more reality than not at this point. And Alvarez, who stock has just plummeted. I mean, like I said, that this dude needs to either move back down or figure something else out. I mean, I don't think that there's really two ways about it. He has been a completely different fighter at 170, and it's just not going to work for you here, brother. I mean, you got to see the writing on the wall.
I definitely agree. It's unfortunate. He still has time because his record has not gone to shit yet, but the win that you got in welterweight, I mean, if you want to be the one person that says it's aged well because Vicente Luque's back because he submitted Kelvin Gastelum, that's fine. Fair play to you. I personally am not of that assessment. Joel Alvarez got a subpar win against Vicente Luque and then got submitted very easily by a dude who, again, this is a guy who came from lightweight and moved to welterweight. And we just got a perfect example of him getting tossed around by another welterweight. I mean, I know you don't want. I know the executives want you at welterweight. I know you wanted to be at to be at lightweight. But like the fact is, you might be just somewhere in the middle where you're gonna have to figure out a different style to compete because at welterweight, dude, again, he picked you up like it was no fucking problem, brother. He had enough energy to break dance after he beat you. That's you got to know that that's how bad you had a performance. It's like he had so much energy that to do not one 360 little spin, but to revolt again and then to hit the pose at the end, you got styled on, my guy. I hate that for you, Joel.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Potentially a guy who would benefit from a 165 division, but you don't get it in the UFC, at least not right now. So you need to figure something out and figure it out quick because you're getting figured out very
Yeah,
often now.
yeah,
So.
100%.
But shout out to Amosov doing the damn thing. I mean, like you said, Chase, we're gonna have to see. Now, I mean, he's gonna get a ranked opponent at this point. I mean, I highly doubt that they're not gonna put him up against some, one of the guys in the rankings. So we'll see if he can hang with the big boys. When it comes to that, of course, welterweight, very, very competitive right now. So if that style transcends, then maybe he's even more of the real deal than we are possibly giving him credit for. But that remains to be seen.
If they were smart and they want to give him another win that's an opponent that will potentially do nothing in their fight, which I think is a good track because give him the unranked guy that is potentially going to do nothing again because we need to get him out the rank kind of deal. Give him Buckley right now.
Well, yeah, we'll talk about him in some great detail coming up. But yeah, I'm okay with it based on what we saw for sure.
Yeah, we'll talk about it, of course.
All right, well, let's move on to the next fight before we talk about that one. This fight is Ateba Gautier versus Ozzy Diaz. I said, hey, at least Diaz survived a round.
This is another one where it's like it says it went to round two. Did it? Did it really? Because I don't remember a round of anything other than a table through one shot. Ozzy Diaz got clipped and his legs decided to fold underneath him. And it wasn't Listen, I was not the one to scream early stoppage. I did see people thinking like, he was back once he hit the ground, but like, I mean, it's a Taba, guys. Let's be
I say
real.
it took a little minute too, because I know exactly what you're talking about. He crumbled, he went down, and then he sort of laid there for a second, and then was like, "Wait a second, hey, hey,
Yeah.
hey, whoa, whoa, stoppage!" It's like, all right, dude, now you don't get to get away with that when like it takes that split second to get you back to reality, you know?
Yeah, no, and of course, you have to take into consideration Ateba. He was gonna kill that dude if you would have let it go, you know. And I know, I again, everybody deserves the equal opportunity. I get it, but like Ozzy Diaz, he was out, brother. His whole body shut down, the legs folded inwards, and he falls back. Like, I mean, it's
Yeah, some equal opportunity is more equal opportunity than others, you know?
yeah, I agree. And this unfortunately is just another one where it's like, why did we give Ateba somebody that we obviously knew he was gonna sleep very early in the fight kind of deal?
Well, I'll tell you why I think the answer is the answer I believe is because of the Pulayev fight. Is because we need to keep the mystique and the aura of Ateba Gautier. He just kind of got figured out in his last fight to an extent. He still won the fight, but he did. This was not what you see in this fight or what you had seen in all of his previous fights. So we need to rebuild the mystique. Some MMA fans have a small attention span and a short memory. So coming off of a nice knockout win, he goes and now can get another opponent that'll make it a little bit more of a of a showpiece, I guess. But really, I mean, I think that Diaz, like obviously we know how scary Ateba is, so it's like it's understandable that this went this way. But Diaz was fighting very cautiously on the feet through the entirety of this thing, and he could not pair the takedowns with or he could not pair the clinches with takedowns to make them valuable. And that was the big problem. Like, he was trying to negate some of the movement of Gautier, maybe tire out his arms a little bit. And like, I can understand where the strategy is in that, but I don't think that Diaz was the guy to do it. So it was really kind of a foregone conclusion. The only other thing I did notice from this fight that could be useful to somebody maybe a little bit, a little bit more skilled, maybe a little bit more powerful, higher up, is that Gautier swings at very long range at times. He will reach for shots from a very far distance. He could be open to counters at some point with a person who'd be willing to like stand and take one to give one. But that's a very, very tall order with the Teba Gautier with the power that he has.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Ozzy Diaz, thankfully you made one round. I mean, you could be at the bar one day and say, I made one round with that guy, but here you are. Unfortunately, round two did not go your way. And yeah, I mean, there really wasn't much to say. This is one of those ones where it's like, okay, yeah, he did it. I mean, yeah, did we need to do the whole walkout? Did we need to have every? Yes, we knew he was going to beat Ozzy Diaz by knockout. I mean, this
Yeah.
was not too crazy of an analysis to make, but you expect performances like these. These are the ones where you're like, okay, Ozzy Diaz is going to shock the world. It's like, as long as he shows something. But no, he didn't. He didn't,
He
unfortunately.
certainly did not. Yeah, the only last other note, because really that's the only thing that I have is like notes on how Ateba might be beatable at other points. But the only other thing that I'd say, and this is not really to that, it's actually the other way. Ateba, he does a lot of like distance finding shots. Which I think are really great bait. Like he sets traps really well, and you saw that in the finish. Like earlier in the round, because this was like early into the second round, he was basically just pawing out a couple of shots. He's sort of like fishing, is what it looked like to me, where it's like, okay, is this going to be a shot that's going to keep me in the distance I want to be at? He'll move, he'll kind of do the same thing over and over again. So he's kind of like chipping away at the rock to find the one that's going to like shatter it. And then he eventually finds that. So it's like tap, tap, bang kind of thing. So just another thing for other fighters to keep in mind is that like you do have opportunities in there, but you always have to watch the power on the other side. So it makes it a very hard puzzle to navigate, but somehow Andre Pulayev did it. So, I mean, I do think that there is eventually going to be some higher level guys that will make it more competitive with Gautier. But right now, man, he's just a dude that if he touches you, you go to sleep. That is what happens.
What I would say is going to happen next is Ateba should get a ranked opponent, and if he wins, I would say the moment that Sean Strickland is not champ, because I believe they have trained together, so there's a whole Sean Strickland will obviously do it, but I believe if Sean Strickland's not champ and Ateba is now a ranked guy, he's 24 years old. They would want to see if he could be the third youngest champ ever. Obviously we'll talk about the second youngest champ here in a few, but maybe they skyrocket a table a little higher than what we're thinking, but we got to get him a ranked opponent already. We've been calling for it plenty of times now. Pulayev was not the guy. He
Well,
was not the guy, man. Like,
and middleweight is like so ripe for this. I mean, like once you get outside the elite of middleweight right now, it's a open season for picking off some of these other guys. You know,
we've had three middleweights go to light heavyweight already. We've had Hamzat. We'll talk about it. Hamzat heading to light heavyweight. RDR heading to light heavyweight. Robert Whitaker heading to light heavyweight. Paulo Costa is heading to light heavyweight.
that's wild. That's wild
Um,
to think about.
yeah, so can Ateba get a ranked opponent? We have four people that are literally not in the division anymore. Oh, yeah, I mean, it's whatever, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard Jared Cannonier being floated. I hate that for Jared Cannonier, but you know, I mean, Jared Cannonier made it work against RoboCop. It could be the exact right guy.
We are only at a matter of time before RoboCop moves up to light heavyweight as well. Let's be real.
So legit, so legit. Middleweight is just a bit of a mess division, and in that for that exact reason, it's a lot of guys who are probably too big for the division, just making it work for a long time or longer than they should, and then you end up with the Sean Stricklands of the world, who we'll talk about when we get to there. But
Yes.
it's yeah. I mean, anyway, the point is that Ateba is in the right place at the right time. Give this guy, whoever is at number 10 right now, there's your opponent.
Absolutely. For sure. If you'll take it. I know they're probably shitting their bricks right now. They heard
Dude.
10 and they said, me? Like,
yeah. All of the people in that range need to just draw straws, you know?
yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, let's move on to the next one here. This, of course, is King Green versus Jeremy Stevens. Long live the King, baby. I mean, this is, I put this incorrect prediction on myself because what I would say about this, before we talk about all the nuts and bolts of the fight itself, is that why can King Green just not be consistent? If he was doing the things that he does well consistently, he would be the easiest bet on the planet. It's the fact that he is inconsistent that makes it so that it's very hard for me to be like, this is the fight that he's going to be able to do the things that he does so well.
This is another one. And while I'm not, there's no discredit here. King Green, you will soon find, I'll go ahead and say it right now, he is an early candidate for Fighter of the Year already. He has got a knockout and a submission. Yes, he's got one of the more impressive knockouts because he beat up that fucking bum. He beat the shit out of Daniel Zellhuber. Anyway, he gets this submission here. First off, Bobby Green getting a submission. The last time he got one was against Tony Ferguson, which, the ref stepped in. I think it was a technical submission, or maybe it went to decision, but Tony sucked and was going to lose in a choke. But King Green, all the praise. I agree with him. One of the more exciting fighters that I've seen because I normally bet against him and he normally doesn't make me hate him. He makes me beat the fuck out of that dude who sucks. Like he's not showing that he's good at anything right now. Get him out of there, And Jeremy Stevens, for a veteran, for somebody who has been around the sport for so long, for him to go into this fight and do nothing. You are one of the more powerful strikers, and you let Bobby Green with his hands down. You didn't give him anything to think about. You didn't hit him once. You didn't shoot a takedown. Aren't you like some Olympic wrestler or something too? Like maybe I'm wrong about that. Jeremy Stevens, no.
I don't think so. Or maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's from before my time even.
Either way, he might have credentialed wrestling somewhere. Maybe not. But brother, if Bobby Green's piecing you up on the fucking feet, maybe do something different. I don't know. And then he gets you down, and then Bobby Green submits you. Maybe I overestimated how good Jeremy Stevens potentially was back in the day. Like maybe the division wasn't as good as we thought it was if this was the dude who... Listen, Bobby Green manhandled Jeremy Stevens. He made it look like it was his job, which it is, of course, but like... I did not expect Jeremy Stevens to look as bad as he did. And this is somebody who didn't really watch him in his prime, of course, but like with the Mason Jones fight, I'm questioning if Mason Jones is even good anymore after this. Like, brother, I'm serious.
Let's not get out of hand here. All right. Mason Jones doing some great work. That's an unnecessary stray, I would say. But either way, what I would say about this, it is a joy to watch Madman Bobby Green fight. No one does what he does because what he does is not smart, but it sure is entertaining. What I say about King Green is he is like a lion tamer. You ever see the lion tamer that puts his head inside the lion's mouth? You know what I'm talking about at the circus? It's like the things that he does are so insanely dangerous against high level competition. You know, Stevens may be a little bit questionable in that camp, perhaps, but either way, you know, like he is willing to do insanely dumb, risky things for the entertainment value that it brings, and for that, I really enjoy watching him. I would say that that was the biggest problem for Stevens, is that he just didn't have an answer for all of the weird stuff. It wasn't hunting for an answer quick enough either. He's another dude that, similar to an earlier note that I had about Joel Alvarez, just didn't seem to like realize that you need to be like working quickly to get to what you think is going to be the next thing. Like he didn't seem to have a sense of urgency. I said, you're rarely going to ever figure out King Green. You just have to catch him clean. And if you're not trying to catch him clean, it's never going to happen. And then what happened in this fight ends up happening. So, you know, I thought that there was some unfortunate things for Stevens. Also, I did want to make the note that Stevens did come in 4 pounds overweight, and I was like, already we're off to a bad start. The meta has certainly shifted with weight misses. It used to be that it was an advantage. Now, if you miss weight, it's just like almost a foregone conclusion that you're losing the fight.
Yeah.
So, you know, whether that was, you know, one of the reasons here, I think is a little bit questionable or not, but it certainly did not bode well. I think I said it on the 10-7 show. I was like, oh, weight miss, he's probably going to lose now. But either way, you know, like the only things that I saw when it came to like the actual work here was Stevens overswinging, Stevens trying to intellectualize what he was looking at, but not actually pairing it with output that made sense for it. He goes in for the big shot, the one that was supposed to be the shot that could have started the damage from his side, and that's when Bobby Green hits that beautiful double leg. And then it's just damage on the ground, damage all over the place. And that's only after King Green had started a very nice combo of his own that only got stopped because he ended up hitting him in the nuts. You know what I mean? So it's like you end up kind of it was an unfortunate foul, because it's like, you know, not only does it, you know, put you in the hot seat, but it also cut off the combo that you had already started, which was some nice work that was actually being effective. But either way, it didn't end up mattering because King Green was able to take it to the ground and do what he did, get that choke in there. And it was a lot of nice work with not a lot on the other side of it. So if he could do it consistently, I'd be very happy, but he doesn't.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the thing, is that he doesn't. It's not like, oh, if he could, he would. It's like, no, he just doesn't, and he won't. I mean, that's just his style, you know, and that's fine. We respect him for it. I appreciate Bobby Green for all the upsets that I've had. I really appreciate for how fun that he has made them look. You know, that's he really does a fraud check well, is what I will say. You know, and this necessarily isn't a fraud check. This is just get the hell out, old man, kind of deal. Like this, why did Jeremy Stevens even come back? Like, I'm gonna be real. Like the Mason Jones one, okay, it was cool. It's in his hometown or whatever, like short notice ish or whatever the hell it was. But like, would you come back here if this was the performance that you were gonna have against Bobby Green? Did you not have like a, you know, you both have been in the sport for so long. You had to have been watching him and been like, I know I can beat him. I know this is how I could do it. You know, if we ever matched up, I would do this. If this, blah blah blah. Nothing came to fruition. He just went in there, froze up, let Bobby Green look like a fucking all-star. Let Bobby Green get the clearance to think that he's the equivalent of Apollo Creed at this point, you know? Like, I don't know, it's crazy.
Sure, walk with me, Joe. I
I
mean,
that was pretty insane. You know, what why did they need to walk 2 feet over when the microphone is in you know, whatever, brother. I don't know, you
it's
know.
emphasis. He really, really needed to get his custom shorts.
Yeah, true. Yeah. No,
Yeah,
he needed to get his bonus, but what he got in return, you know, the Pawn Stars meme is like, I can give you custom shorts, you know.
that's legitimately what he got. Yeah, you know, the second that he starts talking about bonuses, you know, instantly he is not getting one. So very unfortunate in that respect. But King Green custom shorts, if you want to support Bobby Green, go ahead and get a pair, because that's the only way he's going to be getting paid, is what it seems like.
True. Yeah. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Bobby Green. It's funny because Bobby Green is one of the more professional, of course. You know, when it comes to the sport, I mean, he takes this business very seriously. He is very um, attached to the UFC. You know, he rides for the UFC, and then here we are, and they still don't give a fuck. Like, I don't get it. Whatever, you know.
Yeah, yeah. So either way, I mean, he's already apparently rebooked, or at least is rumoring that he's got another fight lined up.
He
So
said they got to fight this. They got a card this weekend. I'll compete on it. So if that's, oh no, well, I was gonna say we potentially had a fight fall out. Maybe he'll be stepping in, but I already have some news to spoil for you later. So we'll get into
gotcha.
it.
All right, sounds good. But either way, solid win for King Green over here. Made it look easy. So good for him on that.
No, made it look way too easy to make Bobby
Right.
Green look like it's one thing to get pieced up in the striking and make Bobby Green look like a competent striker. We know he's good at striking, but the fact that we have been reminded, Bobby Green of he's got some wrestling background, I believe, is the fact that he's actually getting to showcase that he is like still able to do all this stuff. It's another thing. To get submitted by Bobby Green, like when Tony got submitted or when Bobby Green had that arm triangle, you're like, it's over. Like it's over if Bobby Green is submitting you, bro. Like it's done. It's cooked.
Yeah,
But
no, for
here
sure.
we are.
Yeah, no, most definitely. And who the fuck is that guy remains? Who the fuck is that guy?
Yeah, I know Connor was at home laughing.
I'm sure. I'm sure. All right, before we get into this next one, do want to shout out the chat. You've been neglected, and I got to do it, of course. So, Sam, appreciate you. Ram is chilling, listening in the car. Appreciate you as well, Ram. Thank you for being here. Bleeding Edge is here as well. Appreciate you, my guy. Tyler Betts, Sanjay was here earlier, and Israel Medina. Thank you all for rocking with us, guys. Appreciate you all.
Yes, you guys are awesome. Make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, and of course, you guys are awesome.
Absolutely. Got to say it 2 times because it's 2 times the truth.
Yes.
Next fight was not 2 times awesome. It was Sean Brady and Joaquin Buckley. Now, we talked a little bit about this at the start of the stream. Of course, there was some irregular line movements on this fight that swung very heavily in the favor of Joaquin Buckley. They did not turn out to be correct in their assessments because Sean Brady came out here and did exactly what I had thought he was going to do. This is also paired with the fact that I had been hearing from several sources that Joaquin Buckley, who was out for a year, mind you, I mean, he was out for almost an entire year, he was supposedly training with Kamaru Usman to fix his ground game and get him up to snuff in that arena. None of that worked, apparently. Where did all that training go? Is the training in the room with us now kind of thing? Because he looked atrocious on the ground. And not only that, he also kept consistently making low fight IQ moves that got him back to the ground. That's what I said in the Discord about this, or on the watch along. I was talking about it, I believe, on last night on Sunday, where I was saying round one, look, it's Sean Brady. He gets you down. You know that that's the case, whatever. Like, that's part of the game. You adjust. The adjustments for Joaquin Buckley was continuing to let his feet leave the ground. The one thing that Sean Brady needs to happen and makes it so easy for him to do what he does best, you are consistently allowing to happen, and you are initiating to happen. So where is the IQ from Buckley on this one?
I cannot answer that one for you. I want to give props to Brady because he did prove me wrong, but this is another situation where I mean, you looked really good against a high-ranked opponent. The unfortunate story is that that high-ranked opponent put on one of the worst performances of his life. And if you want to say that that is because Brady was so good, but I think I think there's truth there. There's validity there. Brady was so good that he made Buckley look so bad that I am personally not a believer in Buckley ever again. I mean, I may think he'll win another fight or a specific matchup he may win, but there's no championship aspirations here. I'm not thinking that he's going any further anymore. Journeyman at best. He might even go back to middleweight once he stops giving a fuck about his diet. Like who knows? But Joaquin Buckley, the amount of nothing that you were able to do in this fight, the amount of times that Sean Brady was able to just get you in full mount, um, the amount of times that you tried to knee him, specifically after your coach said, "Do not knee him, do not kick him, you cannot do it." And then the round starts, and he immediately throws a knee and gets taken down.
That was the big note too. And shout out to CTE. I don't think he's in the chat right now, but he was on the watch along with me, and he said after his coach had said that, if you watch, and I saw it on the rewatch too, his coach just slams his hand down on the apron of the mat, or apron of the octagon, after that takedown, after that note was given to him. And I felt for his coach so much in that moment, bro. You are giving him, I mean, like, granted, it's a note that is like, it should be inherently known by your fighter at this point, regardless. But that is the one thing that he most certainly should not have done. And then he just goes and does it. It's really like telling a kid not to do something and then you just watch them do it. It's like, brother, what did I just say to you? And I could feel that energy from his coach. So I felt so bad for him in that moment.
Yeah, no, listen. That coach needs to get a student like Wes Schultz, who doesn't listen, but he'll get shit done, you know? Joaquin Buckley didn't listen, didn't make any adjustments, never really found any strike that made it seem like he had a puncher's chance, which is really when it came to the feet, you know, you were presumably going to think like, okay, if Buckley keeps it on the feet, there's always something that he could do. Wasn't able to keep it on the feet. Sean Brady was able to showcase just how good his wrestling is, which I want to give him some credit because I feel like I had for a while classified his grappling and his wrestling as very generic and very basic. You know, very you can find that style across any other weight class. But I will say he's very sticky. You know, once he's on you, he's not doing much. Like, you know, he's got a very good when he gets you up against the cage and he's got some waist locks and he's going for single legs, it's really good. It's not dirty. I mean, you can fuck him up with some elbows. If Buckley was actually able to just like do something with his arms, but we'll talk about this movement a little later, of course, which potentially could have stopped a lot of situations from being ended or more of an engaging encounter than it could have been. But Sean Brady really did impress me here with his wrestling. But although it's unfortunate that he went up against an opponent who did nothing, so it looked like he was grappling the dummy, like that's just the unfortunate part of it.
And you saw Buckley trying to buck his legs and, get himself a little bit freed from these full mount situations, and just none of that is working either. Like you saw, we'll talk about the co-main event, of course, where you saw Josh Van with the butterflies just getting himself out of all kinds of situations. And it's just like, where is any of that for Buckley? It was very strange to just watch him like trying so hard to get no return from it, especially in positions that are specifically at this stage of the sport, ones that you don't see many people in at this point. I would actually say that in recent times we've seen more full mounts than we have in like a number of years, like between Diego Lopez and a couple of other guys that have actually achieved like some success with full mounts. There's a reason that you don't see it that much anymore. It's something that is drilled in from early stages of people's careers to be able to be gotten out of. And you saw Sean Brady Donkey Kong punching on top of this dude, pounding the ground like DK over there. I mean, this was just a very, very poor showing for Buckley. And I mean, what we always say in situations like this is, I mean, if it wasn't clear enough from the Kamaru Usman fight, it certainly is crystal clear now. All you have to do is get this guy down. You have been figured out. You are a marked man at this point when it comes to that. I don't know what more there's for you if that's going to be the case going forward.
It's actually not even just getting him down what seems to be the key here. If you are a wrestler, it is already ingrained in his brain that in the fight we will go to the ground and I just won't do anything. Like I just won't. I don't think it's Buckley. Just he went up the last two fights. He went up against two wrestlers that have two kind of different styles, and they just destroyed him. And it wasn't because he just didn't have the right game plan. He just didn't fucking do anything. Like he just decides that I don't know what to do against wrestlers. I just in his mind there's just no confidence that he could beat wrestlers is what it seems like. You've said, bro, the kick that he landed against that dude, where he caught his leg and he did the spin kick, the confidence to think that I could pull that off. Where is that to think I could stuff a takedown? Like it's crazy. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it certainly does not appear to be on display, at least after that first one. That was, in the very beginning of this fight, Buckley did stuff one level change, and I was like, okay, all right, maybe there's something there. And then just right after that, it was nothing. So unfortunate, no adjustments. All of those things that we just talked about make it a very unfortunate showing. I said Karate Combat might be the place for Joaquin Buckley. He would certainly be okay with all of the weird antics and all the stuff that we've been talking about that they're trying to pull off over there with all of the extracurricular stuff that they do at that promotion, and he would not have to worry about takedowns as much. So maybe that might be the place for him eventually.
He's still got a career in the UFC. I mean, 8 losses is not a promising one, but I mean, he still has money to be made in the UFC, is what I'll say to that. But I personally am not looking forward to the Joaquin Buckley performance unless he's going against somebody that I know is super fucking good and gonna finish him. So which I think is about around that corner. It's like, well, somebody's got to get him out the ranking because he ain't doing shit around there. So
Yeah. Yeah, most definitely. So, shout out to Sean Brady for defying the odd line movement, the irregularities. I appreciate that. It certainly throws the irregular line movement narrative into a tailspin, which is very interesting to me as I consistently watch all of this craziness with sports betting and the intersection of that with the MMA and the UFC. So, at least there's something to be said there. Sean Brady continuing to show that he is, a high level guy, regardless of being knocked out by Michael Morales. Interesting times at welterweight as always.
absolutely. But, good performance by Brady.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it sucks he's not a finisher. You know what I mean? That's the
Mhm.
other thing. The only other note that I had was it's like, you have a sitting duck at that point. Like, finish this fight, dude. Come on. Like, what's all the wrestling for?
100%. Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the heavyweights over here. This is Alexander Volkov versus Waldo Cortez Acosta. I Odd fight is what I would say about this one, and definitely an odd conclusion. I'm interested to hear what you thought about how all this played out.
Wasn't a great fight, of course. It's heavyweights. What can you expect? Waldo, I did not think that he was gonna be able to win this one. I thought Volkov was gonna see. The thing about this is Volkov had to play a perfect 15 minutes to win this. And I think for the most part, he did just that because he was worried about the power from Waldo. You could tell he just did not want to take these big shots. Like Waldo was welcoming him to the brawl, and there were times where Volkov was kind of jokingly like, "All right," and then he'll just go back to his little pitter patty kind of thing. But I think and Volkov actually landed some good shots on Waldo that, kind of staggered him a little bit, but there was just nothing in this fight that made you think that either of them were going to finish it. At heavyweights, that one punch can do it, but you didn't feel like either of these guys were willing to take that one big punch, which is a crucial problem at heavyweight because that's you got to be willing to punch each other. And Volkov, I mean, he won this fight in my opinion. I mean, it was 30-27 by my accords because Waldo really he couldn't do anything. He couldn't get on the inside. Volkov was just peppering him up. The kicks were looking really solid. He was going up top every now and then. And like I said, he was staggering him every now and then. And Waldo, Waldo was getting so frustrated that he kept doing the like, come on, let's fight right here. Like do it. But Volkov is a smart fighter. He wants to be, the champ. So he's not going to get baited into something like that. Even towards the end of the fight, he kind of he wanted to make it seem like he was gonna brawl it out, but no, he knows that he wants the victory. He knows he got robbed by God. He knows he should be fighting at the White House. All these other things. And Waldo's surprised that he lost. I'm very surprised that he was surprised. I mean, guy, you didn't put on a performance that was gonna win. I don't know how you could be surprised. You just followed him around and didn't land anything of success. My
I'm
opinion.
all right, fair. I mean, this is definitely where the optics play a huge part then, because I saw it completely differently. I mean, I said that the first round was very slow for sure. I said that this also was a fight where this kind of went as expected from Waldo's side of things because Bro does not like to get into the pocket with bigger guys. He just does not want to be at striking range with dudes who have long arms and can land the power shots. So it was going to be a little bit of an outside affair for a lot of this kind of expectedly. Round one, all kicks from Volkov, little bit of top striking from Waldo. I thought Waldo did the better damage with his shots. Volkov just had a little bit better volume. So really this entire fight kind of hinged on round one for me. And that's where it gets a little bit, like optics kind of can play a part of that because we were even split on the watch along as to who thought they won that round. I said both guys turned up a little bit in round two with the striking, but it was so many single shots. That was a big, again, optics of this fight. Like nobody was going in for combos. Neither of them really wanted to get into a firefight. So you're just kind of point fighting with each other. So just tallying all what you think that equals up to. But then Volkov did have Waldo hurt in that second round. Waldo backs up and Volkov slowly plods forward and stands there before finally deciding to strike. I said, bro, low fight IQ moment. Finish this fight. What? I mean, like, at least try, at least make it a moment. If it's not going to be a finish, you had the opportunity to really put a stamp on that. You didn't do it. Fine, whatever. You still take the round, but it's like it just was frustrating to watch that. And then, I did think it was funny when Waldo protested the eye poke that he clearly did. It was like bullshit on that.
That kinda made me mad, I'm
Yeah, I
not
mean,
gonna
yeah,
lie.
same.
He poked him in the eye, protested, which when you watch in replay, it was a really blatant eye poke. Like, yeah, I'm gonna fucking swipe you all across the face. But then he's gonna fight like a bat out of hell after he clearly just fucking cheated, brother. Like, and listen, this is again going back to the Dalia fight. You know, he got eye poked and then got his stop, and then he comes back and finishes him. Brother, you can't act like that, but then act like this as well. Like you gotta keep in character. If you're gonna poke him in the eye, you gotta be like, all right, my bad. Are you good? Like you're good. All right, glove touch. Let's get back to it. Not, oh, I poked you in the eye. Oh, I'm gonna fuck you over now, brother. Oh yeah, I got you on the ropes, huh? You
Yeah.
were ready to continue. It, I don't know, brother. It's
No, I
crazy.
know it was. Yeah, it definitely bothered me too. But either way, that happens. I gave Volkov the second round. I thought the third round went to Waldo. Personally, I mean, like I thought that he did the better work in that round, and so I really thought it came down to round one. And I had given round one to Waldo in the moment and on the rewatch. So I thought that this was a little bit of a petty theft. Personally, I do understand why Waldo thought that he won that fight, but I'm not mad at the outcome of it because neither of these guys really wanted to make it a definitive fight for themselves. Again, Volkov had the opportunity that if he had went for it at that one moment I was just talking about when he had Waldo backing up, that could have been the big moment that everybody would latch onto. Like, how could he not have won that fight? But he didn't. And then this is what we end up with. You having one opinion of it, me having a different opinion of it, everybody else out there having a different opinion of it. It was not definitive. And so for Volkov to come in here and say, oh, I got robbed by Gon. I deserve all of this. I deserve it. Bro, you make the opportunities for yourself with those moments that you did not take. And that bothers me a little bit because I like Volkov.
I think what it comes down to for me when it comes to the close rounds is when you look at a heavyweight fighter who is walking forward, not getting his jab going. Not the jab was good, but it wasn't popping for Waldo. But and then just throwing overhands, not really trying to mix in anything versus somebody who's kicking the leg, kicking the body, trying to go up top, jab. Straight, Volkov had a very solid game plan on the outside, which again, you're talking about the volume. I mean, I think that is exactly why I gave him the rounds. I mean, he was mixing in volume strikes at all different levels of the game. While Waldo was just plodding forward with a big belly going, wiping it off and stuff, doing his emotes. I mean, I I like Waldo, but he didn't win the fight in my opinion.
Yeah, fair. I know. So different perspectives on it, but either way, I mean, if somebody had made it definitive, then we wouldn't have any kind of thing to debate.
True. Yeah.
So unfortunate with that, but yeah, Volkov gets the win. Fine. 30-27 seemed a little ridiculous to me, but either way, uh, yeah, that's about it. I don't know. Waldo back to the drawing board. It sucks for an active fighter because I mean, like he is, one of the most active heavyweights. He's fought a lot recently, and he obviously really wants to ascend, but you got to win your fights and you got to be willing to get into the pocket with the bigger guys. I mean, again, I based a lot of my opinion about this fight off of the Pavlovich fight, and I think it was an accurate comparison.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, unfortunately, Waldo's 0-2 against Russians. I mean, this is just, I mean, if you don't want to give him Kunaev next, I understand, but I think that is the only thing left for him to conquer when it comes to heavyweight Russians.
True. Yeah, it might have to be, and maybe he'll break the Russian kryptonite curse over there.
Absolutely. So who's next for Volkov? What are we thinking?
I mean, that's a great question, isn't it? I would say maybe the loser of the White House fight.
But he's our. I mean, if you do you really think the Derek Lewis rematch is what we need? I mean, if you
Oh no,
go
no, no, I'm
back,
talking about the loser of the title fight. I mean, is he not?
oh,
I mean, is he
okay,
not?
yeah.
Is he not at that point? I mean, or Tom? I mean, like if Tom's not going to get the immediate shot, which obviously they have to, right? Come on, you can't. It would be monumentally a fuck over if they do not give Tom the shot at the belt after after
Yeah,
everything.
that's why I would say, I mean, if you think Hokit, I mean, if he beats Lewis, I mean, Volkov and Hokit, I mean, I don't hate it, but if you think of Blades, sorry, not Blades. If you think of Lewis losing and Volkov, I mean, Volkov was beating him for 3 rounds before Lewis knocked him out. So I mean, valid rematch. I mean, everybody would hate it because it means nothing for Volkov, but I mean, whatever, I guess. If you don't want to give him the winner and give him Hokit, I guess, then yeah, because he's not gonna. That's the problem with heavyweight is you have the title holder sitting out. You have an interim belt going on right now, but the interim belt is with somebody who robbed somebody who's now fighting against like the sixth ranked guy, which was Waldo at the time, and I don't know. There's just a lot of things going on, and then you have Hokit who's ascending really really fast.
Right.
And he's got a lot of star power with him. So it's whatever's going to happen. It's unfortunately not going to favor Volkov because his performance like this is not the most entertaining and nobody's going to want to see him anytime soon. But if they go back to Saudi Arabia, I mean, or Abu Dhabi again, Abu Dhabi, give Volkov a fight there. I don't know who it's going to be, but
Yeah, I mean, you just took my last point is that, I mean, like a definitive win here could have made it a very different conversation. But now it's just like, okay, you get the win. You're still in the top of the division. What do we do with that?
I think what's really funny too is, and I understand the thought process. Like, not everybody's special, not everybody gets special treatment, but we saw a White House fight get made on the fly just because of a good performance and because of social media presence or whatever. And Derek Lewis is Trump's favorite fighter, but people should be going into these fights thinking, if I put on a crazy performance, they can't live without me on that card. But we haven't seen it yet since Hogan. But I'm just saying that would
Yeah.
that would be my thought process. If I'm the greatest fighter in the world and I want to be on that White House, I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna make I'm gonna make it known like you can't not have me on that fucking card. But
I mean, that goes to my point that I made earlier. You make your own opportunities. You get on the microphone afterwards and you're talking about, oh, I got robbed in this fight. I'm doing this and that. It's like, brother, we just watched you fight and no one is overly impressed.
yeah,
And the Almeida fight, I mean, think about that. A lot of people have different opinions about that, perhaps.
true.
So, yeah, I don't know. So, I really don't know exactly what you do with Volkov based on all of that, but I would think that there are some implications after the White House, one way or another.
100%.
All right. Well, let's move on to the title fights then. This is the co-main event of the evening. And of course, it is Joshua Van versus Tatsuro Taira for the flyweight strap. And I know that this was something that brings great joy to my co-host Chase Parton. So take it away, Chase. What'd you think of this fight?
God damn, what a fucking fight. When you're watching this fight live, I am I'm so confident in Josh Van. And it's gonna be to my detriment. It already has been, and I'll stand by him. But in the first round, I could totally see, and I should have checked the live odds. I should have doubled down because I was very confident. Guys, he ain't taking no damage. Tatsuro ain't done nothing. He just laid on top of him for the entire round. And not to mention, he got up at the end of the round. I think round two is gonna look a lot better for Josh Van. We get into round two, same thing. Josh Van getting up. He's not getting held down, guys. No damage is happening. And then, of course, a massive bomb gets dropped at the end of round two. Tatsuro is still living somehow. I have no idea how this dude took that shot. I mean, if you see the replay of his face getting, the motion, craziness. And then round three starts. And then this is where you knew like it's going to get bad for Tyra now. I mean, he already got dropped once. How is he going to is he going to act scared? Is he not going to want to get punched again? Is he going to just relentlessly try to wrestle? Like what is he going to do? And the answer is he's going to fucking be a Chad, bro. He is truly he's one of the biggest dogs in the sport. And this is what I love about this fight too is because you have 24 years old versus 26 years old or whatever the hell it is. And these guys showed you what the future of the sport can look like because these guys they both wanted to be here. They wanted to compete like they had something to on the line. And and it's not necessarily anything rags, riches, whatever you want to say. It's for the UFC belt. They want to be the person holding the belt. This is two people who wanted to compete at the highest level against each other for this belt here. And round three, again, you knew it was going to get rough for Tyra, but Josh Van kept the pressure, kept the pace, beating the hell out of this kid. Round four, same deal. Josh Van having a good amount of success. Tyra is still getting some takedowns, though. It's making you question how this kid is even still in it. Round five, we worked towards a finish for Josh Van. I knew it was going to come, but the thing is, and this is what I hate, this was an early stoppage, and I'm sick of it because yes, Tatsuro Taira was gonna lose. He was gonna lose. He probably still would have been finished if you would have gave it 2 seconds longer. But that kid was not ready to lose. He was not ready to quit. He was not out of that fight just yet. His body clearly was taking effect from punches. I mean, he was a lot of people, he turned away and he walked away. Like that's not all I mean, listen, he was still willing to get punched even more. That's the thing, man. And I know Josh Van won, and Josh Van is the best. He clearly's proven it as of right now. He's the champ. I think the real story, I think Tatsuro Taira made so many new fans just because, again, there's something special about knowing the fight ain't going your way, what you're doing ain't working, but this is what you signed up for. I mean, if you want to be the best, you got to learn how to lose. And Tatsuro Taira, being somebody who has lost one time in his career up until this point, has never been finished. Josh Van almost submitted this guy, and
Okay.
I think it is absolutely insane amount of confidence for Josh Van. Again, I said this, about whoever the fuck got dropped 3 times earlier in the card. But either way, it's like after you drop them so many times, after you've beat them to hell and back, it's like something else has got to work. If I can't do it this way, I got to do it this way. Tatsuro Taira, it wasn't the beating that it ended up being at the end of round 5, but he had Tatsuro Taira on the ropes so bad. It was actually, there was they gave Josh Van a drop. I think they actually took it back because they credited him at the time for a third knockdown, but it was really Tatsuro's ankle like rolling or something like that. It was kind of a weird little moment. Josh Van popped him and then he stepped back and then he just like tripped. But when we got to the ground, Josh Van landing some crazy punches, and then he goes for the choke, and it's just, listen. There's just too many things to even say, Thinker. I mean, this fight was amazing. Josh Van did his thing. Tatsuro Taira showed incredible heart, and he obviously the name Tatsuro the best. His nickname the best. I mean, it is more fitting to be second best, I would say, but he has definitely proven that he does live up to being that motherfucking name. This dude is a fucking Chad. And it's crazy too, because like when you look at what he was able to produce on offense, yeah, he laid on top of him. But there's other, you could be a person who lays and prays on offense, but if you show a bunch of heart, you can make a bunch of fans. It really, he didn't have much success other than getting in full mount and then doing nothing with it. But the fact that he was standing with Josh Van and having this epic war, first Japanese guy, gonna get the title potentially, you got the first guy from Myanmar, these are the type of fights that make history. And I really just love this performance. Josh Van had been called pillow fists for so long. I've said it before. There are people who get finishes early, and then when they get to the rank, it's decision city. There's people who get decisions early, and they figure that shit out, and they start finishing people when they get to the top of the game. I mean, Josh Van is one of the I don't even have to say. I mean, he's obviously one of the best. I mean, it's set in stone Hall of Fame career. It's at 24. I don't know what to tell you guys. He's already one of the best. So
I mean, I did say that the early stoppage in round 5 was very unfortunate because other than that, this was a fight of the year contender, in my opinion. I mean, this was a fantastic scrap between these two that was, just your eyes were glued to it from the second it started. Yeah, I mean, there are certain things that I might take slight issue with. I definitely did not think that it was a good idea for Josh Van to go for the submission in the third round. I said that had Tyra somehow figured out a way to come back in those last 2 rounds and win that fight, it would have been a monumental blunder because he probably could have finished the fight on the feet at that point. But either way, that's not how it went. What I said is that, I mean, I thought that this was a much closer fight than I was kind of expecting based on how it was going. Round 1, Tyra, did all of the control that he had. It was pretty dominant, even if it wasn't a lot of damage. But not really the best start for Josh Van. It was pretty easy to give Tyra that first round. But then rounds 2 and 3, I mean, Van gets the big drop that certainly changed the trajectory in round 2, and then round 3, he just, I mean, like when you let Josh Van let his hands go, I mean, it's like I think you said in the Discord, you were saying like he doesn't need to mix it up all that much with a lot of things aside from striking because the variety of the striking is so good that carries his weight. And then when he can do the get up off the ground, he, like I said earlier, the butterflies were in full effect for him. He had so many answers for what Tyra was doing, which I think really shocked a lot of people. But if you were riding with Josh Van, you knew that he had the ability for that, and you were seeing flex of it throughout his career. So you pay attention. run the tape back, and you see a lot of what you saw in this fight in the formative stages all the way through his career. So I thought that some of these exchanges made a lot of sense to me and were a really nice culmination of everything that you'd seen leading up to it. I also said in the notes how Tyra survived round 3 is anyone's guess. He looked like roadkill by the end of that round, but then somehow in round 4 he starts to mount a little bit of a comeback himself. I mean, he had a couple of decent striking exchanges that worked. He was still throwing up sub attempts. I mean, this dude is himself getting himself into legendary territory, even in a loss for the belt. I said Tatsuro Taira is destined to be a champion one of these days, I would think. I mean, like it's hard to say with Josh Van being where he is now and Pantoja, potentially coming back and having his shot again. It's heating up at flyweight in a new class now, which is great to see. This is the turnover of the sport, the changing of the guard and all of that. And Josh Van is leading the way, but do not think that Tatsuro Taira is not still in the equation after a performance like that, because I'd say he most certainly is.
Yeah, no, I listen. This was a great fight. All the props to Tatsuro. I agree. It was round 4 when he was able to get the comeback. I think when he ever had that triangle choke attempt, that was worrisome. Like, man, Josh, you're playing with a little fire here. But
Well, and I had said it was two. I thought it was 2-2 going into the 5th. How crazy is that in a fight like this?
I,
I say
I
maybe a little debatable to some, but I would, personally, that's how I had it. And I mean, to think that a fight like this, which what you saw in this fight, could have possibly been 2-2 going into the 5th, I think that's pretty impressive.
I agree. I think this did legendary things for the sport and for both of their careers. They were supposed to meet up earlier in the careers when they were unranked, and thankfully that didn't happen because now that we got this, rematch in the future, hopefully. Um, what I will say is, once again, I've brought it up before, and I really appreciate and respect the hell out of Tyra for walking out to that song. I don't know what the song is, but it's so fucking perfect. I've never felt that way. Tai Tuivasa comes out to Barbie Girl and it's like, all right, ha ha ha. But the shit that Tatsuro comes out to, it's like, man, he's just that guy. Like,
He is a wholly unique figure in this sport, I would say. Power to the people, indeed. But yeah, and I mean, again, going back to the finish of this, I really thought it was unfortunate in this fight specifically. Like that's I really, Vitor Ribeiro was the referee on this one, and generally, I think he's one of the better referees. But it's like I don't know how you see all of what you saw in the earlier parts of this fight and then in round 5 with what you saw happening in that sequence decide that that was the moment. I felt for Tyra in that because you saw him come back from the brink in this fight multiple times. So to have the ending of this fight kind of snatched away from you seemed like a really unfortunate way for this to end. I mean, John Anik was even saying it, a lot of times these referees will, especially in title fights, allow them to kind of, go out on their shields or give them that little extra leeway. I was certainly in that same camp. I think most people were, and I felt bad for that because Tyra, I think he earned that, and that was unfortunate.
yeah. I Another thing that I want to mention is what was we. This was weird. So Pantoja was obviously in the crowd for this. Josh Van wins the fight, and he's I'll fight whoever the business wants, but I'm really hoping that Pantoja, when he's ready to go, that we'll run this back. And they cut to Pantoja, and he does like the what like, and I'm like, how are you confused? What are you confused about? Do you not know that you were like he just called you out for I was maybe he was like trying to do like this guy, but it came across as like where did you miss here that he just defended the belt and now you get your opportunity. He should have been in the crowd doing the Yuri shit, like I
Yeah,
don't
no,
know.
I agree. I didn't catch that, but I mean, yeah, you'd think after a performance like that, it would have been like, oh, either oh shit, I've got a lot to contend with, or yeah, let's fucking do it. I mean, like
Right.
it should be pretty cut and dry. I mean, it's pretty much a foregone conclusion that that's what's going to happen. I've always said that I thought that it should be the immediate rematch, but Van wanted to be active. This made sense. Now you really, I think that in a roundabout way now, based on all of the circumstances, this actually was better for Josh Van because now he has a legitimate defense to be like, okay, fluke or not, I am the champ. So I appreciate that aspect of it. But yeah, Pantoja, get yourself healed up. We can run it back if you want. I thought that was kind of funny that he Josh Van, not necessarily the greatest guy on the mic, I would say, just putting it out there, but he doesn't have to be because he's the goddamn champ.
Yo, yeah, the last blunder I think about often when I think of Josh Fan, he's like, "I'm Josh Fan, I'm the fearless, and I'll fight it." He just like he's stumbling over his own words there.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe a little bit of media training might help Josh out a little bit. But again, you fight like that, and who gives a fuck? Because that was a quite a fight to behold. And as I said, I put it on the list of potential fight of the year. So we'll see what we end up coming up with for our lists at the end of this 2026.
So I'll tell you a funny story real quick. So in honor of Tatsuro Taira, today I was making an Amazon return, and I've always seen this place. This I don't remember the name, but it's a Japanese barbecue place, and I was like, oh, you know what? Tatsuro, that's my guy. Let's go get some Japanese barbecue. So I order my food. I'm like, I'm perusing this place, and I'm look. There's business cards, by the way, sitting on the counter. This is one note that I must make. They were just a glue. It was just a block glued. Like I tried to get a business card. I tried to get one, but it was just a block of them. Like it was just for show. So this place clearly was not up to. Anyway,
They're advertising.
so I asked the dude, that I placed my order with. I don't know if he was Japanese. He looked like an Asian guy to me. I just took my chance. I was like, Tatsuro Taira is, and he was like, nah. And I was like, he's one of the best mixed martial artists in the world, man. Whatever. I was just trying to put him on game. Well, when he delivered my food back to me, he seemed a little upset. I don't know if I just like ruined his day by bringing up the big loss, or if it was the way that I asked it. I was just like, have you heard of Tatsura Taira? And
Oh,
I don't.
Jesus! I hope he
I'm
didn't do
kidding.
that.
I'm kidding. No, but no, it was pretty funny. Maybe he did hear of Tyra, and he just, maybe he was mourning. I don't know,
Could have
but
been maybe spitting your food. Hopefully, I hope it
no, he
wasn't.
was
It was so
cool.
good.
I'm kidding, guys.
Well, no, look, I guess hopefully, if Tyra had won, maybe the Japanese in the United States might care more, but not this time around. I guess but you got to go to the Myanmar food spot. They'll know Josh
Yeah,
Fan.
there we go. No, but it was definitely food was good. Tatsuro performance great. I love this fight. Once again, I feel I feel blessed, as somebody who's an observer of the sport. I'm here to make an opinion on who I personally believe is going to be next level. I saw Josh Fan in his second UFC fight, and I said that guy's got something that I just don't see every day. And I didn't watch the sport for very long, very religiously up until that point. But the fact that Josh Fan is the one that I've religiously said that this is the guy, even after getting knocked out, I said it was an early stoppage. You didn't give him his chance, and they didn't believe me. And now here we are. He's the fucking champ. And I'm just saying, guys, it feels very good to be rooting for somebody, and it pans out. It's gonna suck when he's on his downfall. Let me just put it that way. But
Always does. It always does. But yes, no, great victory here. Last thing I wanted to say, and I know that we're going a little bit long, but I did want to make this point because we haven't brought it up. uh, People were talking about the illegal knee from Josh Van in this fight. There was a time where Tatsuro Taira's hand was down on the ground in a tripod position. Josh lands a knee. What I say to this is that New Jersey was on the old rule set. They were pre-updated rules, so 12 to 6 elbows were illegal, and this rule is very specific. And I have been hearing the narrative going around about this, and a lot of people are getting it wrong. So I just want to set the record straight real quick as a person who has covered this very extensively. The old rule was that if you have a hand down, the hand must be weight bearing, quote unquote, in order for the opponent to be considered down. So if you have 2 feet on the ground plus one hand, that hand must be supporting body weight in some way. The reason that you know that this is exactly what this rule was, because if you heard Herb Dean in the title fight we are going to be talking about coming up here with Sean Strickland and Chimaev, he stated that at the beginning where he said, we went over the rules. He actually said it out loud during the pre-fight, right when they were touching gloves and doing all of that. So I say that to say, it is not only the hand being on the ground that counts for the opponent being downed, even under the old rules. It had to be weight bearing. And based on my viewing of it, having gone back and watched it several times, I did not consider it weight bearing personally. The referee makes that call. It is at their sole discretion. If the referee did not consider it weight bearing, that was a legal strike.
I
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Yeah, absolutely. No, there's actually one other interesting moment when it comes to the rules. Like you said, they went back in time to do the rule set from 1962 or something back in New Jersey. I don't know what this was about, but we've often talked about they need to send the updated rules in the language that the fighters that are fighting in the card are from, are speaking or whatever. So I remember, if you remember, I posted a GIF of Tatsuro Taira that is in Discord. It is a very famous clip of Tatsuro Taira not knowing what is the legal or illegal elbow, and Herb Dean is like, "Yo, that," and he's like doing, and like the round ends, and like Tatsuro just walks away, like, I don't know what the fuck happened. I personally would love to believe that the inactivity that Tatsuro Taira had when he was in full mount was because they deliberately told him in the back, in Japanese, his team, do not throw the 12-6. It is illegal. You are going to get a point taken. You will have to finish the fight at that point. Clean performance is great. You can sit in full mount all you want and bash him up, but if you start losing points, like, it's an illegal maneuver. Don't even attempt to throw. Don't try it, because if Tatsuro does, he's not going to understand what's wrong. He already had the moment where he didn't understand why the elbow was not legal compared to what was illegal. And maybe, again, that was 2 years ago, 4 years, whatever you want to say. But like, does he want to take that in his first? Do you want to take the chance in his first title opportunity? I truly believe that when you tell somebody who already at the time didn't understand the rules, in his native language or whatever, where the referee is literally having to give an example in the moment, I think you should maybe give him a little more information going forward. Like, hey, we're on the old rules, and he's like, what does that even mean? And they're like, yeah, well, you can't do this, this, and this, and then when they explain it to him, they're like, don't even fucking do it. Don't even do it. And so when he's thinking I'm in full mount, his only options with Josh Van holding his arms right here, I mean, yeah, it would be. I could see him being able to try to do something like that to the top of the head, but didn't even attempt it. Didn't even attempt it. I mean, and I can understand these are not being effective if Josh Fan is holding your fucking shoulders at this point. I truly believe that this is something that could have been an issue. Nobody's going to be able to confirm this to me other than Tatsuro and his team or whoever was there. But at the time Tatsuro was competing in a rule set that was current, he was unable to understand the rules, and we had to have some sort of helping of of that manner. In this day and age, he's learning English properly, but still, even as fans who know that's we know what English is, and we read the fucking sport, and we have them told to us. But now we get into the event, and they're like, "No, it's the events. It's the rules from the events that you didn't even watch 2 years ago. You weren't on Paramount. You didn't have the subscription to ESPN Plus. But hey, we're doing the rule set from those events." I want to just give Tyra maybe benefit of the doubt that they told him don't fucking attempt it.
Fair enough. And my biggest overall question is, why is it okay that New Jersey has not adopted the unified rules? What is the holdup? Why is this an okay thing? I understand that all commissions are, state by state or whatever, and you get to operate a little bit autonomously based on other states. But why in the modern era is it okay that one state or a handful of states or whatever it is just get to be on a rule set that is outdated and has been proven now to be something that the sport has moved on from? Don't
You want my
understand.
you want my opinion? Honest
Sure.
opinion. I said this while watching it because there was a couple different things that in New Jersey, in America, we have a lot of different political things going on. I would say that there was things that I saw in this event, like when the first fight started, and we had a female ref, and they're making a big deal, like we don't get female refs that often. It's like, well, we're in fucking New Jersey, I guess. This is probably where they want to be all inclusive, and I'm not saying that that's what it is. Later on, when we get the main event, we also had another female judge, and we made the comment before. It's like, who even are they? Who even are these random judges? And I'm not going to say this specific incident is the same because I think she did a very good job in this main event. We'll talk about that. But then you also get referees, again, that look like they've never. How would they even be able to break up the fight? Like, if again, we were talking about there was the female, and then there was another ref who wasn't Gary Copeland, but he was also another shorter statured kind of guy. It's like, imagine this main event is the blood feud that we have been told it is. We have a guy who's not going to let go of a choke. What the fuck is the girl gonna do? Like,
Well,
seriously,
and ironically, I don't think it was you. It was somebody else was watching PFL maybe like a year ago or so, and that lady was a referee on there making tremendously bad calls, by the way, and it was
I
her.
knew she was familiar. It was me
Oh,
watching that event because people were talking about, yeah, I remember seeing her years ago and she almost let some dude die from a choke, and I'm not surprised, but like the point that I want to make is, yeah, okay, Josh Van and Tatsuro, if you put the female ref out there, all cool, good deal. But like, if you put her out there with the two heavyweights and they actually really want to fucking hurt each other, I'm questioning if these referees are going to be able to do their fucking job, you
I
know?
want. I mean, valid, I guess, in a hypothetical sense, but I got to believe that the fighters will, stop fighting if the referee gets in the middle, regardless of whether they're big or not.
You would like to believe that, but we just had security and police officers in the main event for potentially if that didn't, if that could happen, and that's another thing about the commissions, and the shit, when you have security and police officers, the whole WWE shebang in your, why are the security officers old men? Like people that, and like, because there was this one specific,
Oh,
there was this one specific like security officer, right? So when we'll talk about the main event, but this just goes to it, but Strickland and Hamzat are across from each other, and one security guard, he's this old bald guy, he's like following Hamzat, like, like if he was to run, I'll be the first one. And it's like, bro, this is a fucking mixed martial artist, bro. You're like 72 years old. Like, what are we talking about here? And again, we're just in New Jersey. I think this is just the shit that I picked up on. And it's like in America, I guess we're just too inclusive. Everybody can have a place here, but
all right,
I,
fair enough. If that's the reason, perhaps. You got to acknowledge realities. I guess would be the takeaway from that, right?
fair.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I don't know. New Jersey apparently does not and gets to just do whatever they want. So this is what you get out of it.
So yeah, so we're still on 2015 rule set every time we go to New Jersey. Prudential Center is just a time machine. Yeah.
Yeah, seriously, keep it in mind. Keep it in mind for any New Jersey events until they actually get with the times. Because if you have another card, you got Newark, you got Atlantic City. I mean, you got a couple of venues in New Jersey that they go to somewhat regularly, and that's going to be the case until they get with the program.
Yeah, but like my thing is too is like, can commissions just decide? Like, so we just go to Atlanta. Oh, the Atlanta Commission. They're just competing. They just don't have, they just open weights now. We just don't have weight classes anymore because we're in Atlanta and we have our own commission. We
Well,
just do what we want.
that's what I was kind of getting at with why is it okay in the first place is because theoretically, and at least the way that I understand it, the ABC, the Association of Boxing Commissions and Combative Sports, they're the ones that hand down the guidelines. That's where the unified rules comes from. When they're amended, it happens at the top level, and then it gets disseminated to the lower the regionals, to the commissions per state. So why they made the change and then have just not been, they've just basically been denied by New Jersey just seems very strange to me. I don't understand why that works.
Yeah, I mean, I would say if this is possible and this is something that is popular, just create a mixed martial arts promotion called Old Rules and just use the rules from the Pride era that everybody wants to have back so much,
Brother, GFL hears that and just says, hell yeah.
Probably. Probably.
We'll see. But regardless of that little tangent, let's keep the show moving over here because we do have a title fight again to talk about, another title fight to talk about, and the main event of this card. It is Hamzat Chimaev and Sean Strickland. They fought each other, and all that fake fucking fight selling grudge match bullshit that the fans just ate up. When will people learn, Chase? When will they learn?
This is coming from somebody who, I play video games with people and have played them. I can have an argument with somebody and I will be okay to talk with them the next day. We could be friends afterwards. We could say the nastiest things ever just because it might be a little funny, kind of deal, just to poke at each other. But I've seen this before. People think I'm crazy when I say that Conor McGregor and Dustin Poirier, they are low key bros. Like, and this is the exact shit that I'm talking about. This from somebody who, listen, this is fun, to do, as a person who's watching it, it is a little funny, to hear you cry, you bitch boy, you cry, yeah, it's really goofy and it is stupid. It's better than Hoke It. And I would just say that this is fun to do as a person who has done this with their friends, of course, to just have heated arguments for no fucking reasons over nothing. So for them to sell the fight in this way, I'm not surprised, and I'm not surprised that they were bros. I think they gave up I think they,
They
because
broke kayfabe too early.
when they did the glove touch through the security and the security guards were like, oh,
Wait a
they're just
second.
like, yeah, like, oh, I'm actually not here. Oh my God. Speaking of security guards, I don't know if this is another thing that has to be mentioned. Did you notice the bouncers,
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
the two big black guys that
Yeah.
they
Oh
have.
yeah. The bald black dudes. Yeah. Yeah. The one with the thin gold chain. Yep.
And the one with like the suede suit on. Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
I love that aspect of it. It's like not only do we have security, we got the police with the vests, the sheriffs, we have the bouncers. We have just the designated big black guy. Like that's just how it is.
Absolutely, yeah, and for no reason apparently with this fight, but all good with that. I'm okay with selling a fight and everything. I don't mind that aspect of it. It was kind of funny to see it all break down when Dana White specifically said top 3 rivalries of all time. This is up there. This is one of the most heated rivalries ever. It's like, okay, brother, yeah, we I. It's just funny to like. I'm not even mad at the fight selling aspect of it. It's just funny to me that like the fan base is kind of like Lucy with the football with Charlie Brown. It's like you think it's this thing and just everybody just buys in, and then the football gets yanked, and it's just tee it up again. Who's the next one to sell us this way?
I think what's really funny too is when you're watching the weigh-ins and they're asking DC to make a list of his top rivalries in the sport, and he doesn't even mention him and John Jones. It's
That
like,
is funny. I didn't hear that. That's funny though.
yeah. So you mentioned this one over John Jones and DC, and you are Daniel Cormier himself. It's like Jesus. Did the earpiece like actually work today? And you just read every fucking line from him. Like Jesus, I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's all funny, but that's all fluff compared to what we actually saw in this very surprising fight, I would say. I mean, like, I don't think that anybody would have necessarily thought that this exact set of circumstances would have been what happened here. But there is also the part of the narrative, we kind of talked about it a little bit, of Hamzat potentially training and getting himself prepared for a move up in weight and then having to make this weight. The weigh-in we already talked about. So I guess if you trace back some of these details, maybe certain things make sense, but I don't think anybody, especially with round 1 going exactly how you thought it was going to go, with Hamzat being very dominant with his wrestling, the pressure, smothering, all the things that he does. Round 2, I think, is where things started to go very left field, and then this fight got a lot more interesting.
Um, the fight getting more interesting after round 2, I disagree with, but I'll explain why. Because round 2, Hamzat does his thing. Strickland's able to get up. Cool. Round 2 is really the entire story here because you have the fight continue on. Strickland's doing his jab fest. Hamzat shot a take. He's doing his thing. He's looking fine up until this moment in round 2 where he shoots the worst takedown that I've ever seen. Listen, this is from the people, and I know you agree with me. This is the best double leg in the game right here, at least at a time. You don't get
Sure.
away from this dude's takedown because it's not just one takedown. It's a takedown, sweep around, trip you. He's doing everything to get this takedown. But in round 2, he shot a takedown that was, and I'm listen, and I'm not trying to say he threw the fight or anything of this sort, but it looked oddly similar to somebody who was not trying to take down their opponent. And I like
I just think it was the energy level. He just looks zapped of energy at round 2. That's where I would say it's a little bit. I take a little issue with the excitement dwindling because it was the energy levels of Hamzat were all over the place in this fight as far as I was interpreting them. You're definitely right about round 2. That takedown and then he dead bugged on the ground after it. That was really the most telling thing.
just pulls guard. Just
Yeah.
just the greatest wrestler I've ever seen in my life just gave his back.
Yeah.
He just decided to fall down.
Strickland on top of Hamzat, I said, is this real life? I mean, like, I don't think anybody would have ever expected that to be the case. But, and then Hamzat is striking with Strickland, which is right within his wheelhouse. That was something, like, 2 things stood out to me the most when it comes to the optics of, like, what was unexpected. One was Strickland being a tremendous wrestler. I think that we kind of it had been intimated that might be the case. But I was on, again, the pre-show with 10-7, and 10-7, Bam Bam had said, he had talked to some people from Strickland's camp who all said his wrestling is surprisingly good to the point where you're going to be impressed with it in this fight. And I said, they did not lie. He has a whizzer of the gods. I mean, like, it was a very impressive performance wrestling wise. And then the second thing that was very interesting to me was Hamzat, in a lot of these striking exchanges, it almost looked like a mirror match at times. I mean, like, the 2 of them were standing, striking with each other in a very similar fashion. And I don't know if that's just because they had trained together, or if Hamzat thought that was effective, or if the energy levels were to where he needed to be doing that. But there were a lot of times where Strickland got himself into that flow state that he gets with his striking, which is always very impressive to watch from my perspective because he almost checks out mentally and I say that as a positive. Like he doesn't need to be thinking about every single strike. He can be anticipating different things and getting himself ready for the next set of sequences while his hands are just doing the work for him, which I think is a tremendous thing to be able to do. And Hamzat was almost matching him with that at times, which I was like, this is very unexpected to be seeing.
No, and that's why I think, I mean, because we talked about it briefly, but I personally think Chimaev probably won this fight. I mean, the first two rounds were interesting. He won round one. Round two, you gave to Strickland. But the last three rounds, they were just trading jabs. I mean, it was unfortunately one of the I mean, I even said this. People were expecting a firefight out of Sean Strickland. And I even asked before this, like, have you guys seen Sean Strickland fight? Like, you guys know he doesn't put on like great striking performances. Like, it's accurate, it's effective, but it's just jabs and straights. Like, and when you take out teeps and body kicks from it, I mean, it's even more telling that like he can do what he's doing very well, but it is not entertaining in the slightest. And he's also walking backwards. So when you have Chimaev walking forward, who's not necessarily doing much different, but the striking wasn't just jabbing. He was throwing in stuff that weren't necessarily landing clean, but they were landing well enough. Strickland, he broke Strickland's nose too. That's another thing that I think that Chimaev is not getting credit for. He landed the most damaging things in the fight. Chimaev's face was all fucked up from Sean Strickland's jab fest, but Sean Strickland had a broken nose that was, if he did not carefully take care of the last three rounds, like he was going to lose because of that. Once that happens, you have to tailor make the rest of the game plan. You have to be very cautious that that next shot isn't the one that makes you fucking realize that, ow, my nose really fucking hurts, kind of deal. But I think Chimaev walked forward. He mixed it in a little bit better, and I mean, of course, at the end of round three, I think he took it because he stole the takedown at the end of the round. So I'm not really sure where he ended up losing because, like, I think after round two or after round three specifically, I was like, Sean's gonna do it. Sean's got it. I mean, he has the way to do it. He's just gonna easily walk through him. But I was pleasantly surprised with Chimaev being able to match it for the last two rounds. And I think that by the end of the fight, I was like, yeah, you got to give it to. I mean, as much as you would hate to see it, I would say Hamza probably won that, but I'm glad that Sean did win because that makes the division a little more fun, is what I would say.
Fair. I actually very similar to the previous title fight that we were just talking about in the co-main. I had rounds 1 and 4 for the champ and 2 and 3 for the challenger. So it really came down to round 5 for me as well, which is a very, very close round. So this being a split decision did not surprise me in the slightest. I think that Strickland took it just with the consistency of the striking output in that round. I kind of agreed with the two judges, the way that they scored it for Strickland. Again, this is one of those ones, especially if it does come down to that round, based on all of what we just talked about. I kind of that was the other note that I did have, was that somehow with Chimaev having that second round that looked like he was completely zapped, he somehow regened in round 4 again, another striking round plus takedown to seal it. I mean, this was a pretty impressive impressive way to get that going. So I might have my numbers a little bit wrong there, because I had Chimaev winning round 4, so it might have been 1-5 for Strickland, and then no, I don't know. I'm going through and maybe I got my notes a little bit
You're okay.
screwed up there, but either way, the point is that I thought that Sean took the 5th round, and if it did come down to that 5th round, it was still a very, very close round. This was a razor thin fight as far as who won it. I in the assessment of everything did give it to Strickland. I'm not super mad at people who gave it to Chimaev based on exactly what you said about Strickland. Like, you got to have the moments, you know what I mean? Like, it's like all Sean really needed to do was pick up the power at like any one of those exchanges, especially after round 2. Like that, that was your prime opportunity, round 3, to be able to like really let go. And he just, I don't think, did that. So I think that is makes it a lot more close than it could have been had he actually taken the time to make a big moment for himself. But I did give him the fight, and with that, Strickland ends up becoming a person who has now defied the odds and overtaken to have one or two of the largest upsets in the modern era, which is very crazy to think about.
It is crazy to think about. The thing, what is also crazy to think about, and I think this is something that I really wanted to touch on because it really did speak to me, because I've never personally thought that Chimaev was somebody who really took the sport as serious as you should. He's missed weight. There's plenty of other things, but when at the end of this fight, when Sean Strickland was announced, and this is by far, maybe not by far, but obviously with the beef or whatever, it's a nice little bookend to the story. Chimaev wrapping the belt around Sean Strickland. It was one funny because like how did Dana just let go of the belt? Like how did Chimaev convince him like I'm gonna wrap it around him? Like how did Dana, after thinking that they were gonna kill each other in the cage, how did he not think, oh, he's gonna go choke him out with the belt? Now he's gonna wrap it around his neck, whatever the case may be.
Probably because he saw him dapping him up for the entire fight.
But you don't know what these guys think. He's like, now he's got him right where he wants him at the highest of his career.
Sure.
And he's going to go choke him with the belt, whatever you want to say. But Chimaev wrapping the belt around Sean Strickland, I really enjoyed this moment because Chimaev really does respect the sport, I think. And this moment really exemplified it, I think, for me. It's like out of all the times that he didn't, missed weight, health issues, put on performances that I didn't really like, the Gilbert Burns is the one that sticks out. Like there's the one that people can latch onto. Like, yes, he proved right there that he's the fighter that everybody thinks he should be. DDP was boring. This fight right here, he fought through adversity, whatever you want to say, other than that stupid takedown. But him wrapping the belt around Strickland, I kind of liked it. I really did like it because he always again comes off as the I'll kill everybody kind of but he wrapped the belt. He forfeited the ego. I lost the belt to Strickland. I have crowned the new champ. He has crowned himself as the new champion. Whatever you want to say. So it was
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, no, I'm okay with all of that. I think that it was fine for Strickland to come out after the fight and say, I went a little bit too hard with the religious angle of everything, which, I do kind of in a broad sense think maybe crosses a little bit of a line. Like, you don't need to really go to that level, but they sort of went there together. So it is what it is. But I think that with what Chimaev did and what he said afterwards, like I think it put a nice bow on everything. And as I had already said, I mean, Strickland pulling two upsets off that no one, I mean, maybe not no one, but, I mean, especially the first one was very unexpected against Adesanya. This one now being a second major win for him to become the champion again. He's almost in his own class with like how he like has maneuvered himself, which is crazy to think about because he's not the most exciting fighter on the planet. But at the same time, it is what it is. He's the one who made it happen. So yeah, hats off to him. I mean, I'm not the hugest fan of Sean Strickland, but I have to acknowledge that this is a very impressive feat that he's pulled off.
I think Sean Strickland actually now the way that he's talking and the way that he's explaining his situation, I think he's finally realizing that he potentially has the possibility to do something better than just being the champ. Just being the guy who beat Israel Adesanya. He's now a two-time champ. He could go up to light heavyweight. Like I mean, anything is possible for Sean Strickland at this point. He's defied the odds. He was never supposed to be here. Anything's possible for Sean Strickland at this point. I mean, he's already, Hall of Famer at this point. He beat two of the more scarier dudes in the division, took away massive win streaks combined kind of deal. But Sean Strickland still has a lot left to give to the sport. I think that's very interesting to note. And he's always game, he'll turn around and he'll fight as quick as he can, I like the Strickland era, even though I've not necessarily thought that he's always going to win every fight.
Yeah, I'm okay with it for sure. And I mean, the way that he conducts himself, I think, really speaks to who he is as a person. I think that a lot of the things outside of the sport, with the social media and stuff that he does, being an influencer, even if he claims to not like them, it all kind of plays into the understanding of exactly what you just said, that he does have more to give to this sport. He wants to maintain relevancy. He really wanted that belt back, regardless of, him playing around like he didn't care about it, all this kind of stuff. I feel like the Sean Strickland character becomes very clear once you see him break it. I think that like you watch how he is and then you see him like break character and that kind of informs the character even more. So deep down, I think Strickland is probably a pretty complex guy, but also a very simple guy at the same time. And seeing him get these wins now, hopefully he utilizes the star power that he has cultivated for himself to be the best version of a champion that he can be. Because I think that he has now made it so that he is in the prime position to achieve that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So Good job there, Sean. You done did it. Hamzat going off to 205. Now, what do you think about Hamzat up at the new weight?
I mean, it's obviously best for him if he can't make middleweight. By technical standards, I guess. I don't know if it's going to fare well for him, but we will definitely have to see how the wrestling looks at a new division with 20 pounds or whatever it is difference. He's going to have to really showcase that his grip strength and he's still able to muscle these guys around. So,
Who do you think they're going to bring him in at, or like where do you think they're going to bring him in?
I mean, if Yuri was the plan, I know he's coming off a loss, but I mean, I guess it's still on the table, still valid.
It's actually a good point. Yeah, it kind of even tracks a little bit more now. I would say, it wouldn't be appropriate, especially now. It wouldn't be appropriate to title shot him. Of course not.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, a lot of familiar faces going to be up there too, right? Like you said, a bunch of other guys that were previously in the division. He could be fighting a middleweight at light heavyweight.
Yeah, I think that's really what's in store for a lot of the light heavyweights at this point is they're just gonna be the middleweights that are just gonna be moving up. I mean, I said it before. I mean, you look at people that are these bigger middleweights that like they're gonna have to move up eventually. They're not gonna be making that cut forever. I mean, DDP is somebody who is massive for that weight class as well. He obviously could move up to light heavyweight at any point. Hamzat is obviously moving up. Sean Strickland, I even said he's already got the belt twice at this weight class. If he really truly realizes where he could be in the UFC, legacy book, he could move up as well at some point. Joe Pfeiffer is another dude who's massive for this weight class. That's gonna have to move up eventually. Roman Dolizde is another dude who's just could move up because he's already fought at light heavyweight on short notice. I mean, I don't know why he wouldn't. He's not winning at middleweight. You might want to try something else before you're actually done. Whitaker's on his way up. DeRitter's on his way up. Fluffy, obviously, is Fluffy. Maybe he can just go to 205. I don't know. All these people are just possibly just floating in and out of 205 and 85, I would say.
I think Fluffy just stays at middleweight and waits out everybody leaving to become the next champ. How about that?
True. All right.
And last thing I do want to at least acknowledge is that now with Sean Strickland as the champ, finally Nasruddin Imavov might come out of hiding. So we, probably have his next opponent pretty well sorted, I would say.
Yeah, but Strickland had beaten Imavov already on short notice.
That
So I
is true.
mean,
Yeah, it's a good point.
if you think an extra 2 rounds is going to give Imavov the chance, that's fine. I mean, I rightfully understand why a rematch would be valid, but this dude sat out and let Strickland leapfrog over him for the title shot. Why should you get to fight him now?
Yeah, no, you make a good point with that, but the only other real alternative would be Dricus 3.
Yeah, I agree that potentially could be the only thing that we have, but they'll figure something out.
Brendan Allen, your time is now.
He already lost to Strickland as well, got TKO'd by him. So it's another. Is it valid to give the rematch? Yes, but again, you have DDP 3, Brendan Allen 2, Imavov 2. You have all these that we've already seen. Jared
Yeah.
is still in the mix somewhere that probably wouldn't even make sense. But like again, he's already fought all these people.
I think that you just made the greatest point for hot shotting a Tebagotier ever right there.
Let's do it. I love it.
All right. Well, that takes us to the end of UFC 328, Chimaev versus Strickland. Chase, after talking it all through, final thoughts on this thing?
This one was not the best event. It was not the best. It was not the worst, but it did have some great things that happened. The stories for the UFC are continuing to unfold very nicely for people like Sean Strickland and Joshua Van. And when Josh Van wins, at the end of the day, you can't do anything else but smile, man. That dude is fucking good. I love it.
True. Yeah. No, I mean, I thought that the co-main and the main certainly saved this card in a lot of ways. I didn't hate the undercard as much as I might have maybe thought I did in the moment after rewatching it. I thought there were some better moments than I was maybe giving credit for at times. Overall, it was an okay, maybe like slightly above okay card up until the co-main and the main, which definitely put it over the edge to be a good card. Still good, not great, but like you said, that the Josh Van Tyra fight being a potential fight of the year certainly made me happy.
100%. And
Also, I Yeah, I did
Go
want
ahead.
to see. I saw Joe Pyfer versus Strickland also does kind of track
But
if you want to do that.
the thing about that one that's interesting is you just saw or not Joe, sorry, you just saw Strickland compete in New Jersey, of course, defending his belt. Joe Pyfer, there's a Philadelphia card coming up. If he gets the opportunity, Strickland has no problem fighting in Philadelphia, I'm sure, if it's just, 2 states over from where he just fought, as long as his nose is healed. I think Pyfer went on Ariel and actually said that they didn't want to give him the main event spot. It's like, yeah, you're not a fucking, you don't have a title. But if Strickland steps up and Joe Pyfer is the dude that they want, I mean, there's our main event, I guess.
I like it. All right. Well, we will see what they do.
100%.
But in the meantime, we have a card this weekend. We've got. Actually, I always forget, Chase. I want to jump the gun, but I cannot. You must bring up our numbers, brother. How did we do on our predictions last week?
Okay, so out of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 fights,
Yep.
I had gotten 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 correct. And then you had gotten 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 correct.
Getting my ground back point by point, brother.
I mean, you're kind of joking, but when I looked at the numbers today, I mean, you kind of are. It looks a lot closer than it maybe seems. So I am at 124 for the year, and you are at 105. So you're under 20. I mean, it only takes a little bit, man.
Indeed. All right. Well, heating up, and we're not even halfway through this year yet. So it's still a lot of ground to make up, perhaps, for me. But every card is a new card, and we've got a new card to talk about today. Of course, we've got UFC Fight Night, Allen versus Costa, happening in the Apex. Now, I will caveat this by saying, for anybody who is a fan of the watch-alongs that I do, I don't know what your plans are, Chase, but for me, I will be putting up a poll in the Discord as to whether we are going to be watching this card live or the MVP card. I know that there is a lot of interest in the MVP, the Rousey versus Carano card. If that is what the community wants, we will be doing that live, but we will be doing a rewatch of whatever card we do not watch live. So whether it's this card or the other card, whatever we do not watch live, we will be watching the next day as a replay. So just putting that out there for everybody listening.
Hell yeah, that's awesome.
All right. So that being said, Arnold Allen, he's taken on Melchizael Costa. Chase, I know that you are a big fan of the Dalmatian here. Do you think that he is going to be able to beat the Autistic King?
I think he will be able to beat him. How he will be able to beat him is definitely up for debate. I mean, it's 5 rounds. When was the last time we've seen Arnold in 5 rounds? I mean, you would like to believe that he's got the experience edge over 5 rounds, but if you take into consideration how long he's been out, the amount of time in between his bouts and the last time that he took 5 rounds, I mean, I think it's really anyone's game. I mean, you have to consistently be in those 5 round fights for you to really truly have that 5 round cardio kind of deal. And and Arnold Allen is really, he's not that active of a fighter. I mean, I would say he's kind of a slower starter, and Melky gets to it pretty quick these days. So I would assume Melky's going to take round 1. And then after that, it's really just going to determine if they're going to gas out or not. I really don't know who I want to think is going to have that edge, because Melky's just improving a lot. We just don't know what to expect from him yet, because he keeps improving. The things that we don't know what to expect, he's shown us, So I would love to believe that he's going to show us a 5 round performance that makes us believe, like, wow, if this dude was the champ, he just proved that he could do it for 5 fucking rounds against a formidable opponent. Arnold Allen with 4 losses on a record, those being two decent comp in the division. I would just love to believe that Melky's going to get this one done, because at the end of the day, Arnold Allen really just doesn't have the tools that I would that he's a tough guy and he can throw punches, but there's just not the tools that I'm seeing to beat a guy like Costa.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that tracks. And also, I did a very quick cursory research, and I believe that the last time that Arnold Allen was in a 5 rounder was against Max Holloway. And if you recall how that fight went, it was
Yeah.
not a good time for Arnold. So
Yeah, and that was like, 7 years ago at this
yeah,
point or
that
something.
too. That's a good point as well. Yeah. No, I mean, look, Costa has been consistently showing that he is a high level guy. He's a dude who made a believer out of me. I was skeptical of him for quite a while. We talked about him earlier when I was saying, he got the jump gilly, and I was like, come on, you fluke a jump gilly against a veteran. It's more reflective on the veteran. Then he goes and knocks out Dan Ige, who had never been knocked out. I mean, like, you're seeing levels here. Gets that other very nice knockout in the fight before that as well. I mean,
He
this
didn't
dude.
finish Julian Erosa, but it was still a good fight.
Yes, no. I was Charrier wasn't Morgan Charrier? Wasn't that him?
Oh, you might be right. I'm sorry. I try to correct you. I think you're right. Yep, you are 100% correct. Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
so there
Go
you
ahead.
go. Yeah, that was the
Continue
one.
on, King.
Yeah, he did the jump kick. I was like, yeah, absolutely. So, this is just a dude who's been proving time and time again that there's something to him. I mean, there's a reason that he is in this main event slot, even if it is an Apex card. I think it's well deserved, and I think that they're finally realizing that he is one of those. It's like two ways to get to where he is right now. You either have the star power to do it, or you become undeniable, and he is in the undeniable category right now. So I think that until I see something that's going to prove otherwise, Arnold Allen has just not been consistent enough. I like to see 20 on the win side, but the 4 are bigger losses at this point, and they're at the level that I believe that Costa is now at.
Me personally, I think at featherweight, there's a lot of contenders. There's a lot of people in the mix. But I've been saying this for years now. The UFC, it's an entertainment. You gotta have the stories that people want to buy into. The first Myanmar born champion, the first yada yada yada, the first yada yada yada, the first vitiligo champion. Like, if you don't understand what I'm saying, I'm making it clear that if Melky Costa wins this fight, he will leapfrog a Jean Silva or a whoever, or a Steve Garcia, because the opportunity to have the two youngest champs and to have the something, that is what they're going for here. Because if they give him the opportunity to be the first person of something that goes in the record book, that gives something to talk about, that can be written down on a tweet and sent out to millions of people that follow the channel. If Arnold Allen wins, Arnold Allen wins. Woo.
I mean, but
Like, so
what about all those very fine fans in the UK who are riding with Arnold Allen as their great hope for their country?
I listen. I hate to break it to you guys. Melky is going to win this fight. Shout out to the UK, but Melky's got this one.
Well, there you have it. Okay, well, I guess you've made it pretty clear who your prediction is. I too am going with Melkaziel Costa on this one, so we are in lockstep on this fight. Arnold Allen, I mean, this would, if Arnold Allen can show something amazing in this fight, I think it would do tremendous for his career. Like, I mean, like this could be one of those times where it's like y'all really didn't think that this was possible, and now you just saw that Arnold Allen really has like something that you didn't expect. Like that could be like a career altering kind of trajectory altering sequence for him if that happens. But you got to show me that first before I believe it's going to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
So, all right. Next up, golly, I
Yep.
love this so much, but I don't know why it is this guy specifically. So this is Duho Choi versus Daniel Santos. Superboy Choi, one of my all-time favorite fighters. I am so happy to see him at all, considering that he is so inactive. He went off to the military for a while, which took him out of commission for a long time. It breaks my heart that he, sacrificed some of his prime years. Obviously, I understand the circumstances, but to have him going up against Daniel Santos specifically, I don't know if this is the match I would have made for him, but maybe it makes perfect sense. Explain, Chase.
Well, I mean, I can't really explain much. When I look at this fight and I say there's a co-main event open, I would not have given it to these guys. That's all that I'm going to say here. This is not screaming co-main event to me. I'm not seeing where co-main event would be splattered all over this fight card. It doesn't really make sense to me. I know a lot of people are a fan of the Astro Boy, whatever his name is, Superboy, whatever, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to him. Daniel Santos is a guy who fits into that Brazilian NPC shootbox build. Who even is he? He could be literally any of the other 4 guys from the lower weight classes that looks just like him. He'll probably come in with blonde hair. Like, I don't know. I'm probably just taking it off the
Sure.
top here.
Yeah, I mean he's on a 4-fight win streak. He actually has a number of wins over Asian opponents. His last 2 fights were against Jung Young Lee and Jusang Yu, and he knocked out Jusang Yu. So
Nice.
I mean, okay. Johnny Munoz before that was his one of, and then John Castaneda before that. This is not a crazy depth of record here. You know what I mean? This is not the greatest schedule of competition that I've ever seen. Plus, he has a loss to Julio Arce before all of that. That was a number of years ago. But I'm just saying, Daniel Santos, not exactly like a dude who is setting the world on fire as far as, you know, our acknowledgement of greatness, going up against Doo Ho Choi, who is a Hall of Fame fighter for his fight with Cub Swanson.
You know, I ah, what do I want to take? I don't know. There's not really much that I would say that I remember from either of them. I mean, decent performances from what I would say. I mean, 14-2 is a little bit deceptive of a record if I really don't have much of an opinion on you. But if he's beaten the other Asian guys, god damn it, why do I feel like I gotta take him?
Oh, please do it,
Uh,
Chase. Please take him. Are you taking him?
I'll take Daniel Santos here. Let's do it.
All right. I love it. Okay. Well, I am taking Doo Ho Choi. This dude, you know, he was off for a very long time, didn't know how he was going to come back. He comes back against Nate Landwehr and puts on an absolute masterclass. Now, granted, Nate Landwehr, a dude who we saw, you know, get absolutely trounced in Cub Swanson's actual retirement fight, his retirement part 2 fight, of course. That being said, I still got to be rocking with my dude Doo Ho Choi. I mean, this dude, he is one of the technically best strikers that I've seen in this sport, at least off of my recollection of what I have seen from him. Again, as I said, the inactivity kind of puts a little bit of a shadow over that. But if he comes back as he always has been, then I got to be riding with my guy here. I think he's going to get the job done.
All right, I'm taking my Brazilian Wiley Cat.
All right, I do. Oh yes, he is the wily cat, isn't he? There you go. That's how you should remember him because not much else sticks out.
What you should also note is if you look at the weight on ESPN here that they have listed, he probably missed weight his last time out because they have it listed at 151 for a featherweight. So
True. In fact, actually, I believe that you are correct. I think he did miss weight last time, if I'm, you know, remembering correctly.
love to see it. As a
Yeah.
co-main event, you love to see the guy who misses weight to just get the opportunity here.
Fail your way upwards.
There you
Why
go.
not? But either way, yeah, I'm rocking with Doo Ho Choi. And of course, as we stream to our individual channels, you know that you should go and like the channel who you think has the better takes about these fights.
100%.
All right. Well, next up down the list, another kind of strange one to an extent here. Malcolm Wellmaker, who was setting the world on fire for a while, is going up against Juan Diaz from Peru. Is he a contender series gentleman?
He is the guy who got the spinning elbow knockout against the Asian guy, the Korean guy,
Yes,
I
he
think is what it
is.
was.
Yes, yes, indeed. Okay, yeah, that was. If I recall, that fight was not exactly like he did that instantly. There was a little bit of a fight that had to take place in that fight. Am I
Oh,
wrong?
yeah. So what I would say about that performance itself is this Juan Diaz does fit the build of the South American Contender Series guy with way too much experience to be there. And for that being said, the fight was not necessarily a runaway. He was having a close encounter with the guy, with the Korean guy, I believe. And he was getting touched up. He was touching the other guy up. It ended, the third round was upon, and he was just still trading back and forth. Nothing really too crazy. Probably wasn't going to get a contract up until he landed a viral clip moment. And I think, you know, this is in a sense, yeah, you have, oh, Malcolm Wellmaker, he makes viral clips. Okay, go up against the guy who make the viral clip, but I think this is just bad matchmaking. Like, I really don't think that this matchmaking is going to lend itself very well because you would believe Latino Chin, if he goes out there and gets cracked by Malcolm, maybe we'll get 3 rounds of Malcolm against the guy who probably isn't that good, and maybe he pulls something out. But I don't see it happening. I really don't. I think Malcolm Wellmaker, there was a lot of different things going into the last fight that he had. Short notice against an opponent who's very good, who's a lot better than we expected. A lot of things to contribute to a loss there. His first loss, hopefully he's learning. Juan Diaz, if he comes out here and he's not as defensively sound as maybe he needs to be, if he's a little too confident in his chin, I think we're gonna get a Malcolm Wellmaker knockout, guys. I think we're getting back to it.
Yeah, and if you recall from the very early part of this very show that we are doing right here, right now, I was kind of questioning Peru as like their talent pool. And I look, I love the country of Peru. I think that they've got great promotions down there. But having watched two of them on the channel for watch-alongs, we have not seen the quality in the country translate to the UFC. We've seen several other Peruvian fighters. I think Kevin Borjas is one that sticks out in my mind, to be slightly underwhelming. And I'm going to need to see like a raising across the board. I need the tide to rise to raise all of the ships together for Peru. Jose Ochoa is a great start. I think that should be like the new wave, and perhaps like that will continue on. But to have a guy coming straight off the Contender Series because of a viral moment, going up against Malcolm Wellmaker, who is only has a loss because of Ethan Ewing, who is fantastic, possibly one of the best prospects that we have right now. I just can't, in my mind, fathom that this is not going to go Malcolm Wellmaker's way. It seems a little bit too perfect for Malcolm Wellmaker. And like you said, I think that it probably just speaks to the matchmaking. I can understand them wanting to try to farm a clip out of this, but if they're going to get one, it's probably coming from Wellmaker's side.
Yeah, 100%. But
All right.
Latino Chin may prevail. We will see.
Perhaps, yeah. And I mean, I guess that's also going to be a big difference that I would say from the Contender Series. The power of Wellmaker versus the previous opponent could be different as well. So we'll have to see if that chin can withstand.
100%. And if Malcolm gets upset here, Juan Diaz is going to have to put on a performance that's going to make us think that he's the next guy up too. So
Oh,
I'll
legitimate.
say that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if you recall, Malcolm Wellmaker was the guy for a long time whose name we couldn't remember because he was knocking people out too quickly to recall.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
yeah. All right. So we're both taking Wellmaker.
Yes, sir.
All right, sounds good to me. Moving on down the line, who the fuck made this fight? Modestas Bukauskas is fighting Hidalgo Bellato. What? Why? Why do? If you thought that I had a bias towards which card we're going to be watching live this weekend, this fight would certainly be putting me on the on one side of that equation. Why is this fight happening?
Because Modestas Bukauskas proved in his last couple outings, he's just not that guy. He can go out there and he can have a great performance against, what was it, Nikita Krylov? Good for him. You didn't do shit else after, and you looked very passive.
Other
And
way
and the
around. That was Nikita Krylov who beat the brakes off of him, I believe.
oh my gosh, you are correct. Who the hell am I thinking of then?
No, well, no,
Nikita
because
Lava.
what I was going to say about this is that Modestas Bukauskas, if you recall, was one of my most improved fighters of the year for last year, or the stock raising. We have the category of who had the most raised stock. Modestas Bukauskas was on the list. He had 3 wins in the year, and I believe 2 of those were by finish. I want to say 2. Either way, he definitely had at least one. I remember him having a head and arm triangle in one of his fights. So I said Modestas Bukauskas might have been turning the corner. It could have been a new day for him, and then he goes and loses to Nikita Krylov. It got smoked by Nikita Krylov, if you recall. So yeah, and then going up against Adolfo Bulato, who is the actor from the Paul Craig film.
Yeah, I listen. I know it's not going to be common for me or for other people to do this, but I, for one, will not be taking Modestas Bukauskas because he's inconsistent and in a bad way. He's either looking amazing or he looks like the worst fighter that you've ever seen. And Bellato, on the other hand, potentially could pull off. He's got this Cody Brundage thing, and that's actually a foreshadow for something here soon. He's got this Cody Brundage style career, which he makes everything, more than it is. Everything has to be a train wreck in there. And I just don't think Modestas is able to compete with somebody who's as wild as Bellato. So I'm going to take Bellato here, even though, again, I was right about him last time when he got that first round knockout against the dude with the Contender Series guy, but this should be a harder test, and Modestas should fold because he's just weak, bro. I don't like this guy at all.
Yeah, I hate that I have to pick either of these guys. Like this is just I really don't like this fight. I want to lean on what I had said about Modestas before the Nikita Krylov fight. It's just really hard for me to do that. And going off of the records, Bellato does have, he's 13-3, 13-3-1. Modestas is 19-7 now. Inconsistency is certainly certainly starting to become more prevalent with him. And again, losing to Nikita Krylov in 2026, I believe it was this
Yes.
year, is just how I mean, Nikita Krylov is who they are teeing up for Bobby Knuckles moving up a weight, guys. I mean, this is just too hard for me to to back that horse. If he wins, I'm going to feel really dumb, but I guess I'm going to go with Pilato too.
Oh
I
gosh.
don't.
All right.
I mean, I'll take Modestus if just to be different if
No, no,
we
no,
want to
no,
go that
nope.
route. But I mean, I did have him on the most improved fighters of the year, so it hurts my heart. But again, the loss to Nikita Krylov just spoke too loudly to me, man. I it hurts to see that out of a guy who you need to be able to finish Nikita Krylov if you're going to be at any level of this sport. So sadly for that reason, I too will take the actor Hidalgo Bellato.
Good deal. All right.
I hate it. I don't. Not a good deal in the slightest. I don't like it at all. All right. Well, moving on to Timmy Kwamba versus Bernardo Sopai. This is at least a better fight, I would say.
This one is actually more. Listen, Sopaj, shout out Albania. Clearly, they don't have much viewership over there. If they would have, he would be on a pay per view. I mean, they would have him on a numbered event if there was anybody in Albania watching. But no, they got him on the Apex because that's just what it is. Timmy Twilight, I want to give him major props because he came out with a fresh cut, got himself, trimmed up, and he actually did look like a completely different fighter from what I remember. And he did drop a weight class, so there was a lot of different factors that went into this. Bernardo Sopaj is the guy who got beat and knocked out by Vinicius Oliveira with a flying knee at the end of the round. That's all he is. That's all he's the only Albanian we got, and he got flying knee knocked out by Vinicius Oliveira. So Timmy Kwamba, I think is starting to make some really good turnarounds. He looked he looked surprisingly good in his last performance. Like I was shocked at how good that he was looking. So I want to give him total control here. He's going to beat Sopaj. As much as I like Sopaj for representing the area, cool. But Timmy Twilight he's good now. I really kind of respect his game.
Yeah, no, I'm in total agreement. Sopaj, I mean, look, Albania has the coolest flag on planet Earth to me, so I want to rep for Albania for that reason alone. That flag goes so hard. But Bernardo Sopai, like you said, flying knee from Vinicius Oliveira, that's the loss. His last win, he's also very inactive too, just as a caveat to all of this. Fight against Oliveira was in 2024, one fight in 2025 in January, hasn't fought since then. And the last time that he fought was a win, but the win was over Ricky Tercios. I am not buying into that record in the slightest when Timmy Kwamba, as you said, has been much improved, looking like a guy who's actually out here trying to make a career for himself, really putting the pieces together. Like Timmy Kwamba, I would say, if you go fight over fight, he's going to be one of those guys like later on in his career, you can go back to this point in his career and be like, that dude made the adjustments. He is one of those guys that took his career seriously. He wanted to make himself better than where he was starting off. He put all the pieces together and is creating the career that he wants later on down the road. And this is just another stepping stone in that. So I too am riding with Timmy Kwamba on this one.
I love it.
Yeah,
Easy.
and oh, get the finish. Really, I mean, like that would be my big note for him right here. Is if all of what I said just now is going to track, get the finish here, and that really puts you in the exact trajectory you want to be on.
Hell yeah.
All right. Oh my good lord, this card just gets worse and worse. Nikolai Veretennikov is fighting Chaos Williams. You referenced Chaos Williams in a roundabout way earlier tonight when you were talking about Joaquin Buckley and the mule kick knockout.
Oh, yeah,
That was
that was him. No,
Chaos
no,
Williams on there.
no, it wasn't.
Was it
No,
not?
Chaos Williams hasn't been finished, or he hasn't been knocked out at least.
Then
Yeah, you're
who?
thinking of some black guy with a mohawk. You thought it was Mr. T.
Oh gosh, it's Impa Kasanganai. God damn. Why do I always get the two of them mixed up? That has happened time and time again. My mistake. Sorry to both of those fighters. Either way, Chaos Williams, a finishable guy who we just saw get finished by a bomb theme, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, he got choked out by Bomb Theme. There have been people who they ride a little too hard on this guy's never been knocked out. He's never been this. That's because he doesn't face certain archetypes of fighters. He is the striker. Therefore, when he's at the lower level, the style that makes the matchup is a grappler. So he goes against somebody who's not knocking him out, but he gets choked out by them instead. But either way, I think Veretennikov, I know we didn't like his debut, but he has definitely made a fan out of me with his turnaround. Because in the last fight, what he did to Nico Price, I mean, listen, there are so many times that you could see somebody who has their opponent that they could finish and they just don't, and they're just unable to. He got the old man up out of there, disposed of him quickly. Now, the fight before that with Puliana Soriano, uh, Puna Haley Soriano, excuse me. Hey, Puna Haley's pretty good, guys. I don't know. I think Veretennikov, I like him more than Chaos Williams. Let me not put it in a way that he's making a fan out of me. Let me not say it that way. I'm more of a fan of where Nicolau is versus where Chaos Williams has ever been. So let me just put it that way. I think Veretennikov has the weapons to just get him down and have him in his guard and just do a bunch of ground and pound that probably doesn't finish the fight, but if he is lucky, we could see a ground and pound finish, I would say.
Yeah, I think you saved it there at the end because I think that Veretennikov wins this fight strictly off of being better than Chaos Williams. And that's sad to say. I don't think that Chaos Williams is I just don't think that he's cut out for this promotion, to be perfectly honest, after all of what we've seen from him. He's one of those dudes that has some of the pieces. Like Chaos Williams would be so good in the PFL. I'm telling you, he's one of those kinds of guys where it's like he's good enough to win fights, but not good enough to consistently win fights at the highest level of the sport. Veretennikov, I don't think is great either. And I think that he's got plenty of guys like later on that are going to be able to check him. Austin Vanderford checked him. It's not a guy that is going to be like, making any kind of grand name for himself. He's 36 years old as well, by the way. He's not, a spring chicken either. But do I think he can win this specific fight? Sad to say, I do think he can.
Yeah, absolutely. I would hope so. I'm not a big fan of Chaos Williams. I mean, Nicolau can win or lose, and it's not gonna, I'm not gonna lose sleep over it. But for the getting the pick right's sake, I will take Nicolau.
Yeah, yeah. And if he ends up getting a knockout here, sure, another good notch for him. But I think that this might end up just being a boring decision.
Hell yeah.
All right. Oh my God.
This card is horrible,
This
dude.
card is. They really. They must have known that the Rousey card was coming up. That has to
Don't
be why this
spoil it
card.
by looking at more. Don't spoil
Yeah,
it.
for real, right? Okay, I'll leave it underneath. But yeah, I mean, they had to have known that this card was not going to be watched live by many people because this is just it gets worse and worse. You're not even kidding. I mean, this is Tuko Tokos versus Ivan Aslan, and what do you even say about a fight like this? Tokos is one of the worst fighters on the roster, in my opinion, going up against even Urslan, who, I mean, at least he put up a fight in his last fight, right?
Got submitted by Jimmy Crute by the camel clutch.
Oh gosh, no, that is him. Shit, I was thinking of Ebo.
Dusko.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
you're right. Yeah, I was thinking of Ebo Aslan. This is Ivan Urslan,
yeah,
which
names, man, aren't they crazy?
why there are two people with such very close names really bothers me. You got Ivo Baranchevsky going up against Ebo Aslan, and then there's Ivan Urslan here in this fight, who is neither of those other two people.
Correct, yes. And he's also very far away from the skill level of both of those people. And that's saying a lot because some of those people, I mean, Ebo Aslan, whatever you want to say, Ivan Urslan, this is, you know what? I'm just going to take a coin flip. I'm going to take the Croatian here because he's going to end up getting a big win and he's going to be on the UFC Serbia card. I got
True.
this one.
I like it as the coin flip because I'm coin flipping on the other side, just strictly off of the fact that Tuko Tokos, I believe, is coming off of a victory. I think he got a win. Who did he get a win over? Yes, I am correct, though. He got a win over Atafa. Say no more.
Okay.
I don't like it. Again, this fight, it is a coin flip for a reason. So, just for the sake of that, yeah, sure. Tuko Tokos can be the guy who's going to get the win for England since Arnold Allen is not.
Hell yeah.
What else do you want from us, people? I mean, you tell us how you would rate this fight better. Leave us a comment and let us know how you would assess this fight better than we just did.
100%. Yeah, we definitely need some pointers.
Yeah, and shout out to Lachlan, who's going to be over in Thailand, not watching any of this. Congratulations, brother.
Hell yeah.
All right, next up, Ketlin Vieira is fighting Jacqueline Cavalcante. Cavalcante, even though I am not a huge fan of her, and I think that she has been gifted a couple of victories in her time, is a person who has gotten wins somewhat consistently at a time. Ketlin Vera is not. I mean, like for a while there, she was doing okay, but has backslid, if I'm not mistaken. I'm trying to remember all of the record here. Yeah, coming off of a loss, she's candy cane basically, is Ketlin Vieira. Was a person who had a pretty close fight with Kayla Harrison. I would say. I mean, like not it wasn't super close, but it was closer than other women had had. It was actually the fight that made us say, Kayla Harrison might not be an invincible fighter. She might have some holes in the game somewhere. Cavalcante, maybe a little bit better than that, but also, sometimes I thought maybe been gifted some of these wins. She is undefeated in her last five. What do you make of this, Chase?
I think you're gonna realize. Wait, did you make a pick yet,
I did
or
not
no?
make a pick yet.
Okay, okay. I think you're gonna realize exactly why Ketlin has been at the top of the division for a decent amount of time. I mean, Jacqueline Cavalcante is somebody who has had some matchups where she's been able to do what she's able to do well and win fights that way. She skates by the decision, point striking her way all the way there. I'm going to hope and I'm going to pray that Ketlin is going to be able to get a hold of her. And as soon as she gets her down, you're going to say Cavalcante has nothing off of her back. I mean, we haven't seen it, so there's no reason for me to believe it yet. But from the way she strikes, the evasiveness, the worry that I could be taken down, so I'm not going to stand anywhere near, and we're going to make sure all my strikes are as conservative as possible. That would lead me to believe that she's very worried that once she gets taken down, we're not getting back up. So I'm going to say Ketlin's going to go ahead and get this one done. I know to be fair, I don't know what the odds would look like on this one because 10-1 is pretty good for a female. She's on a big win streak. But Ketlin, on the other hand, at the top of the division, she knows what Kayla Harrison feels like. And if you look at Cavalcante, I've even said it before. I mean, she's just not got the frame of a bantamweight woman. I mean, it's going to be hard to get up if you have someone like Ketlin on top of you. But go ahead.
That was going to be all like basically a lot of my thought process here is that I have thought Cavalcante in the past is someone who, I'm not calling her necessarily a fraud, but I do think that she has been gifted some of her previous wins. She is slightly undersized for the division. As far as the actual ground game and stuff like that goes, like I don't know if that's going to be how it goes, but I do know that Vieira has at least the threat of that. And as you said, going up against Kayla Harrison, who is, the dominant woman right now in the division, I think that she's just is more battle tested against higher level competition than Cavalcante has been. I think that Cavalcante is ripe for exactly the checking that she should be getting in this fight. Like the previous competition, you go back down the record for her, and they're not the worst wins in the world, but they're not the greatest wins either. And this is like, I think right at that point where it's like, if it's going to happen, if she wins this fight, then maybe she is like actually about it. But I don't think that she actually does have it. I think that she's been skating by. She's an outside point striker for fuck's sake. Like Ketlin Vieira could get her hands on her.
Yes, no, I absolutely agree. I think Ketlin's going to just show the levels to it. I think we're going to Portugal, as much as we want to believe. I mean, we saw Mario Pinto already shit the bed a little bit too. I think we're going to see something a little similar to this.
Yeah, no, I agree. I am also taking Ketlin Vieira in this one, and I hopefully either I'm wrong and Cavalcante really is the real deal, and that would be very nice to see, or it puts Cavalcante in the exact right frame of mind for everybody that I've always thought her to be.
100%.
All right, next up is Cody Brundage versus Andre Petrosky. Man, they really did like clean the roster out for like putting all of these just terrible fights on one card. Shout out to them for good planning.
They really did pull this one off, didn't they? I'm sorry. Wait, you took Ketlin, right?
I
Let me
did.
just make sure. Okay,
Yes.
okay. Just making sure I have that out. Yeah, they definitely pulled this one out because think about how quickly it has come. Just not even a year ago, we were talking about Cody Brundage being like 11-6 or something, or 10-6 or something like that. Like, oh, it can't get much worse. Like, you're gonna have to start winning. No, he gets a draw, and then he gets 3 losses in a row straight after. So can you really bank on Cody Brundage to come out here and win against Andre Petrosky, who has consistently let you down, let me down specifically, but Um,
I mean, this is letdown versus letdown. Like this is just a fight with two dudes who how could you ever really be confident about picking either of these guys 100%?
Here's my thought process though. Cody Brundage always fights like he has nothing to lose. And at the end of the day, when shit gets going, he does stand and trade. I would I want to say that Cody Brundage is going to be able to get Petroski into a brawl. Petroski has really good kickboxing, but he also is not very good at anything else that he does. You know, he might shoot a takedown, but Cody's going to stuff it. If Cody could lull him into a striking battle, I think Cody might get a knockout here, guys. I really think that he will win, not win by decision, but he will win by finish. I think he's got it this time.
Oh my god. Again, this is just one of those fights. It's like I have to pick a winner out of the two of these.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, like the one thing I'll say, how long ago was that last fight with Brundage? It feels like it was like only a couple months ago. Am I
It
wrong?
was very recently, bro. He just fought March 7th, 2026 against Dante Johnson. Yes.
Okay, so what we
Split decision.
True. God, wild, absolutely wild, and who's who's most to blame for that? But no, what I will say is that what we saw in that last fight from Brundage is a dude who, when it wasn't going his way, really just didn't have anything left to give. And I was saying in that fight, it was probably too quick of a turnaround for him. He is again turning around very quickly for no apparent reason. I mean, I don't know if he's like speed running the end of his contract or like why he is so consistently active when he is not winning fights. You'd think that he would take some time off to get his game plan a little bit better figured out. But he is back again, short notice again. I not short notice, but short turnaround again, going up against Petroski, who is on a 2-fight losing streak, but does have some skills in there somewhere. I want to say he is a blitz fighter, though, Cody Brundage, who does, when he's backed up against a wall, really come out swinging. Oh my God, I'll take Petroski.
Okay.
Fine, whatever. You know what I mean? Like this is one of those cards that, like, when I get all of these picks wrong, I'm just gonna be like, fine. What do you like? Congratulations for having galaxy brain takes on these if you do get these right and I get them wrong. But like, do you really feel good about it? Do you really feel good about these picks in these fights?
This is a guy who has a loss to Cedricus Dumas by unanimous
Ah,
decision. Yeah, so Cody Brundage is not necessarily the best pick ever, but I will ride with it on this one by
and I
finish too.
sure, like I would like to see Cody Brundage get that finish to make the style that I know he is capable of actually pay off because we have seen him at times go balls to the wall with striking. Make it against Andre Petroski and just get him out of there early. Make this actually something that people will say, "Damn, yeah, Cody Brundage might suck, but look at that performance against Petroski. That's something." I Chase, this is my thought process on Cody Brundage real quick. If you saw the last Yama episode, I said I forget what the actual like the full on joke was, but it was basically, oh, the quality of the UFC has been as such that it is the terrible love child of Cody Brundage in the female bantamweight division. That's how bad the UFC has been. So Cody Brundage had to be the unfortunate butt of a joke from me based on what I know him to be.
Yep, but all's fair, man. Let's see if we get a finish in this fight. We can pray
Ah,
for it.
come on, Petroski, make it happen. Either way. All right. Well, here's a little bit something nicer for you, Chase. I know you're a fan of Alice Ardelian. She's fighting Polyana Viana. What are you thinking about this one?
I think this, you would believe that I would instantly say Alice is going to win. She's a dog. She puts pace, she puts striking, she mixes it all in. She's very very good. The problem is though is that she has lost before. 7 losses, nothing too crazy, but the people that she has lost to. Now, I'm going to name some people, but I want you to understand that of what they are kind of deal. So you have somebody like Diana Belbita. She lost to her in the regionals. That's fine, but this is like, very average, basic level grappler. She gets submitted by her armbar. Okay. She also gets submitted by Zhang Wei Li in the regionals. Um, Good for her. So that's great competition, but getting submitted, whatever. She also loses to Shauna Bannon, which I wanted to double check and see if this was mainly her grappling, because I think this is where the deficit lies, is Alice in the grappling, which going against Pollyanna, I mean, that's all she's going to do is if she gets a hold of her, she might be able to submit her. I really don't know about this one. It is a hard call, but as true as I am to the lovely ladies of Romania, Alice Ardoyan is going to win this fight. I'm a taker. I got it.
All right. Well, yeah, this is e-girl versus e-girl here, basically.
They knew what they were doing.
Yeah, exactly. Polyana Viana is 1 foot out the door. She is only in this organization because she is attractive and she is a cosplayer and she, brings in eyes. I would say she is not a high level fighter. Alice, I would also kind of class as not the greatest fighter, but what I say sets them apart is that Alice actually does have some grit. She's willing to make a fight dirtier than I think Pollyanna's at all willing to make it. If she gets her down, there might be some problems on the ground. I do agree with you on that. I think that Alice can outmuscle Pollyanna. I think that she has more as far as like making this like a dog fight than Pollyanna would ever bring to the table. And I think that over the course of the fight, this will probably be somewhat maybe not boring, but I think it does have the potential to be grindy. I think it has the potential to be a lot of clinching. And, if Alice can get the distance and actually get the striking off after the clinches, then over the course of the fight, she might chip away at Pollyanna to the point that she's not able to effectively go for the takedown. So I too am going with Alice on this one.
Okay, Alice Ardoyan, shout out our OnlyFans queens on this matchup here.
Indeed, absolutely. And Pollyanna can go right back to content after the loss.
Yeah, I mean she probably does it after every loss or win, you know.
True. All right. Well, next up, I am amazed that that either of these guys are still around, but one more than the other. So Daniel Barreth is fighting Luis Gouroulet. Of course, Barreth is from Spain. That's how I recall him. Luis Gouroulet is the wrestler with the goth girlfriend, and he is on a ridiculously bad losing streak right now. So I have to suspect that this is the last fight on his contract. I am surprised he has been rebooked.
Yeah, it is very interesting, but you gotta just listen. This is a guy who was 10-0 when he won on Contender Series, 9-0, wins on Contender Series, now 10-0, has lost 3 consecutive fights in the UFC, all at the highest level of this game. They're clearly trying to find him somebody that is of his level that he could match up with, that he potentially could win. But the thing is Louis Garule is a guy who he's a little average. You know, he can do everything basic, generic. You know, nothing too crazy. But he is a striker, and that's where he would like to finish fights is with the striking. The problem is Daniel's never been finished by TKO, so is Louis Guerrilla going to be able to put on the masterful performance where he beats this dude's head in for 3 rounds, where the judges have no reason to give it to him, or is it going to be close, where he's not beating his head in, and then we have to think like, did he actually win those rounds? I think the second one is probably where I'm thinking. I'm taking Daniel by decision. I think I got to take him here.
Well, I take a little bit of issue with the assessment that Garule is a striker. I think that he is more of a wrestler, like as his base.
You're not wrong there. You're not wrong. I mean, he is a very good, fine wrestler. But the fight starts on the feet. He's got 5 TKOs. He's only been TKO'd once, and that was by Ode Osborne. So one submission to his name. So I just don't think he's going to be going for it against somebody who's a more credentialed grappler. Like what's Daniel's got? I mean, 6 submissions. Fine. He's been submitted 4 times, I guess. But I I think Garule obviously is going to stand and try to strike with our guy here. He never seemed like the guy because he lost once, and it's like, okay, he's got to get it together. He got to do this. He lost again. It's like, all right, he didn't get it together. He needs to figure some more stuff out. He loses the third time, and it's like maybe his game is just not to get better. Maybe he's just here for what it is. You know, he's going to go in here. He's going to take the fights. He's not going to learn much from him, but he's going to fight his fight, you know? So I don't know. I kind of respect it at the same time, but it doesn't look like he's game planning to win for a long time here. So.
Yeah, and that really is what informs my decision. Like I wanted to like Luis Garule coming into this promotion. You know, he kind of got in by the skin of his teeth almost. And I had higher hopes for him, but he's consistently let me down in fights. I mean, I think I picked him to win before at some point, and he has not done that ever in the organization. He is sadly proven over time, fight over fight, 3 times in a row, that he is not of the UFC caliber. Barreth, not necessarily like a guy who I think has like tremendous ceiling. I mean, this is the dude that had the steel rod through his head. He was out for quite some time, but and also 37 years old too. Don't let that escape you. But at the same time, I think that he has a better skill set overall. If Gurule can get him down, then that might be why they're thinking that, oh, he got submitted in his last fight. Maybe that's this is Gurule's chance to show off his primary skill set on the ground. But I've just been let down too many times to be able to bet on that horse. So I also have to go with Bareth on this one.
All right, I like it, man.
I
We're
hate it.
we're still kind of rocking the same picks
No,
here.
I mean, trust me. I would like to. I would like to be able to be taking these other ones, and I think that if you do go with Gurule, like that, it would have to be off of the potential for him to get a submission here, or just hold Bareth down for like the entirety of the fight. But I believe it was Andre Lima who was his last fight. Am I wrong about that?
Yes,
Yeah. So no, yeah, Bareth's last loss was against Andre Lima. Gurule is not Andre Lima.
true.
So all right, now I guess we have to be in lockstep. All right, well, maybe we will be different on this one. It is starting the card off, my lady, the love of my life, Shauna Bannon, and she is going up against Nicole Cagliari, who I know that you are a fan of.
I am a fan of her, but it's unfortunate that her record is what it is because she's gotten some pretty tough competition. I think this is the easier of the matchups that she has gotten. Unfortunately, with the caveat of Shauna being the lesser of the skill set of the women that she's faced, she has a style that is a lot harder for Nicole to combat because Shauna Bannon is a very long, rangy fighter. She uses a lot of kicks. If you look at this picture of Nicole Cagliari, I mean, you can see, I mean, she's very stubby. She's fire hydrant built, it's going to be hard for her to get on the inside. I mean, when you look at the other fighters that she had, Carly Judice and Ernesta Kadetske, they bring the fight to her. So she can be the shorter kind of girl and she steps in and they're right in her face because they've been walking forward. With Shauna Bannon, Nicole is going to have to get 3 steps in before she gets anything off, so it's a really tough fight. I think the jiu-jitsu is where the fight is actually going to get interesting if it gets there. Is Nicole Cagliari going to be able to blitz through and do a trip and get her down and make it interesting? I just don't know. I feel like, and hear me out. I just feel like the UFC for some reason has something with Shauna Bannon because they're carefully crafting her record, her resume. At 7-2, we haven't seen her that much, but the ones that we have seen, Puja Tomir, I mean, come on.
Sure. Well, that I think is what's informing my decision here is because Pucha Tomar, like that fight was a lot closer before it ended up getting finished than people might remember it to be. I mean, Pucha had some pretty good looks in that fight and only ended up getting caught to, get finished in the end. I mean, she kind of fumbled her own finish in that fight, if I recall. So I would say that Shauna Bannon should be able to be someone that Cagliari can get past. Like, really Shauna Bannon has the one-legged kangaroo hop, if you recall. Like that should be a jujitsu practitioner's wet dream right there. You grab that leg dangling in the air, get the trip, and it's all over. Like in a perfect world, perhaps for Cagliari, that should be the case. I would think that could be the potential there. Puja Tomar, is a tough customer as far as the Indian fighters go, and first female Indian fighter, leading the way in that regard. But Nicole Cagliari is coming in from a Brazilian base. I got to believe that she has the tool set to figure Bannon out. I mean, I don't think that Bannon's skill set is all of that well polished, to be perfectly honest. I certainly like her look, for me personally, but as far as her fighting skills go, I think that there is a lot to be desired there. So for that reason, I think I'm going to go with Nicole Cagliari on this one.
All right, I'm hearing you, and I respect the opinion, and I do like Nicola Cagliari. If she does end up getting a win in a big way, I'm very glad because I would like to see her around a little more because she impressed me in her debut. For somebody she had 100% finish rate, she had never been to the bell. She goes up against somebody like Ernesta Kadetske, who is going to take you to deep water and punch you all the way to the bell. She took a whooping and she took her unanimous decision loss, and she didn't look like she was ever going to quit. I mean, I think Nicole is somebody who deserves to be here with the amount of heart that she has and the skills that she's shown. She's just got a harder slate than what Shauna Bannon has. This is somebody who's gotten hard prospect matchups versus somebody who gets the weaker prospect matchups.
True. So who are you going with?
I'm going with Shauna Bannon for sure.
All right. Wow. Well, there you go. The tables turned on that because you know how much I love my Shauna.
Okay, so there is one more to go over. It's not showing on here. It was on here earlier. The fight was Trey Ogden versus Tommy Gant, who was a Contender Series guy. The name kind of rings a bell, Tommy Gant, but I can't tell you much about him. But now he is going against. This is a short notice bout that is just created for Tommy Gant. He's going against a guy named Artur Meniev. Menev. He is a Ukrainian guy who's 7-0, and that is the only thing Tapology can tell you about him. Let's
So
see.
Tommy Gant versus, what'd you say, Artur?
Artur Minev.
Okay, Artur Minev versus Tommy Gant. So this is Contender Series Part 2, basically.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, not. I mean, it would really be part one for one of them, and the other one, yes, it's part two for him. So
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, so you're saying that fight is happening?
that is happening. That is booked. That is happening on this card. Yes, it probably. I don't know if it's going to be the first fight, but that's where the Trey Ogden fight was slated.
Okay. Well, then give me your thoughts, Chase. I don't know. I mean, remembering Tommy Gant, that would, not ringing a bell aside from the name, maybe.
If I remember, he was a guy who I was a little skeptical on because he's an American wrestler, I believe. And
Mhm.
when I saw him, I remember being very, very impressed. God damn it! Can I get the Gantt?
Oh, yes, I remember Tommy Gant now. Yes, I just looked him up. Yes, absolutely. Tommy Gant impressed me in that fight. He is a wrestler. He's actually a pretty high level wrestler from what I remember from his fight. I remember saying, keep an eye out for Tommy Gant. All right, well, then that makes this a lot more clear to me.
All right, so you're taking Tommy Gant.
I am strictly off of my recollection from the Contender Series and knowing full well that I do not know his opponent.
I will also be well. I'm Ukrainian guy. Will he surprise? I don't know. I don't
I
know.
was
I'm
gonna
taking
say,
Tommy Gant as well because he is proven to get into the organization. So
true. I mean, you could roll the dice and get one more extra point on me if if it comes through.
no, I can't take a guy I've never seen. Of course, he could come out there and look like Wes Schultz, and I would feel stupid.
Tommy Gant, if I'm not mistaken, ran through his opponent, had a bunch of support, and was a guy who I said I was like, that dude could be really good at some point. That's what I
Mm.
recall after looking him up real quick.
Yeah, I would like to believe it. I'm excited to see. I mean, he's 11-0, and anything's possible.
All
And
right.
he's 33 though.
Yeah, true.
33-year-old prospect is interesting.
Always the case, right? We do see that more and more now. It's like some of these guys do take a little while to make their way up, but let's see what he can do at the big leagues.
Hell yeah.
All right, and of course, we will find out. All will be revealed on Saturday, whether we are watching live or in replay fashion. One way or another, you can either watch this on the night of or the next day, depending on what the Discord says, with me at youtube.com/@YamaShow. And Chase, I know you can tell them where they can find you.
They will find me on youtube.com/AskCPSmalls, of course, watching Friday Fights in One on Friday, and then on Saturday, watching the UFC. So just don't forget to check me out.
Are you going to be watching this card live?
This card, oh yeah, for sure. Watching
Okay.
MVP live, I'll probably just flip through that the next day and catch them.
All right, so there you go. Now you got options. Most likely, we'll see what the chat says, but I probably will be watching MVP. So if you want to watch this UFC card, go over and hang out with Chase for this one, and you can flip back and forth between us, get updated on everything.
Absolutely, yeah. No, this will be an interesting one. Looking at the fucking names on this Apex card, but I digress. That is normally the better cards, is the one that you don't expect. So
Absolutely, and this could end up being an absolute classic. So hopefully it will be. Either way, you can find me on social media at Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Yama Show for all of those. YamaShow.com for all of your merchandise needs, including last week's fights merchandise. Get yourself something nice over at the store, and we will see you in the next episode of this very show next Monday, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with us for this one. We appreciate you as always. Have a great rest of your night, a great rest of your week, and as always, fight on.